And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
Attention, roll call.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. 8:05 live Eastern Time. It's your Friday roundtable. And it's, of course, the Who's Who cast the characters here for the Finest Unfiltered. John, myself, Marlon, and Sal. What's up, everybody? President Trump to meet with Zohran Mamdani. I know you're probably saying, oh, another Zohran Mamdani. There's a lot of information, a lot of content going on. John, let's jump right into it. Zohran Mamdani, mayor-elect, to meet with his opposition, President Trump.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody thought it was going to be, the end of the world. Trump's going to pull federal funds. So I think, the meeting's going to happen a little later today. We'll see what comes out of it. Expect some WWE, expect some sound bites, expect some 20, 30 newspaper articles about Trump said this, Mamdani said that, and there's going to be a little, there'll be some of that, but it's all theater, dude. Everything that you're watching is theater. Mamdani said he's going to stand up against Trump. He's going to do this. He's going to stop ICE from working in New York City streets. He's going to stop enforcement of federal law on New York City streets. All that's been happening. It's been happening since Bill de Blasio. It's been happening under Eric Adams. He's literally not saying anything different. And yesterday he's on the news, and what is he saying? Oh, I'm going to work with President Trump. Of course you are, because what are you going to do? All the rhetoric around this guy's an Islamist, jihadist. He's only the mayor of New York City. Like, that's it. Like, if he doesn't, the people were worried about, like, when all those Israeli first influencers were coming at us, promoting Andrew Cuomo, and now they're all gone mysteriously. Haven't seen any of them. But when all those Israeli first influencers were pushing Andrew Cuomo and saying how Zohran Mamdani is an existential threat to America, I just kept saying, like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's the mayor of New York City. Eric Adams, for 2 years, along with the majority of his Crumbs crew, didn't even have the authority to see anything as it related to federal cases. They had no security clearances. So, I mean, it's the same thing here. If you did get a radical jihadist in the seat of the mayor, they could just get boxed out very easily from the federal government and the state and city authorities. Like, so the whole thing was a joke. And, I expect some charades today, but I don't think you're going to see too much come out of this. What's up, Mont?
Yo, morning, guys. Morning, chat. Morning to our regulars in the chat. I see you there. We got Chronicles. We got Sleepy. We got Hoodmare, 92 Charlie. Yeah, happy Friday, guys. We have a lot to discuss, and if you don't know, this meeting between Zohran and Trump is supposed to go down at 3 p.m. today, and like John says, it's a lot of WWE. Because again, Zohran openly said he was going to fight Donald Trump, and he's not even sworn in yet, and he's already shifted his position on a lot of things. And it's not so much an issue about working with the president, because I mean, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, you still have to work with the federal government and the president. But it's a question about authenticity and him being genuine. And we've questioned it from the beginning, all the nonsense that was going on during the campaigning. And we also said that all three candidates were the same. And sure enough, most of the decisions Mamdani's made so far is a clear indication that, it was a three-card Mamdani, including this. So, we have a lot to talk about that as we go around. So,
yeah, good morning, everyone. I see everyone in the chat. Shout out to Cafe Latte. So shout out to me. Shout out to all of you. I see all the regulars in here. Chronicles, The Collapse, 92 Charlie, Michael M. I've been telling everybody this is WWE. And like I said yesterday with John, what you're going to see is Trump goes over there, right? It was the hoodwink to the rest of them, and you're already seeing what John Katz and everyone, they're already bending the knee because they were always in cahoots. Now, I guess, like John was saying, Oh, Mamdani is going to be the worst thing ever, Sharia law, but it's all okay now because the soccer mom's still the police commissioner. A woman that has zero, like I cannot find one significant achievement still under her belt saying she's so great other than being Bill Bratton and Ray Kelly's, experiment, and this is what you're dealing with. So right after this, I fully expect him to be going on your favorite radio show in the morning. We all know that it's coming, so you're gonna hear it real soon. Oh, he was a commie, but he's Trump's commie, so now he's my pal. And it's gonna, and after weeks and months of him calling this guy a terrorist, and you even heard Errol Lewis bring it up with John Katz, asking him about it, and he says, "Oh, we don't have any hate speech or whatever the hell that means." But bottom line is, you all got played. I saw a hit piece yesterday too on Curtis Sliwa about not paying people or whatever. What is up with that? You know how a campaign is. Once Curtis wasn't a guy that had $50 million laying around like Mamdani and Cuomo, and so people are complaining about not getting paid when the matching funds and money isn't still. Curtis doesn't even have it. You're gonna get paid. You just don't get paid that day. Like that, this happens. But they decided to write about that, guys. That's another thing I saw. Nothing about the disgraceful stuff with John Katz and his whole radio station. Just keep bashing Curtis because John Katz has a hook at the New York Post, by the way.
So I think the question at this point is what's at stake here, right? This conversation, will this lead to a conversation about affordable housing in New York City? Will it be a conversation about federal and local law relations between the NYPD and ICE, working with federal partners? What's actually at stake? Or is this just a complete show where these guys have cappuccino and coffee together and have a conversation, just put up a show and have some sound bites? Or will there actually be some meat and potatoes? Will there be a real conversation about affordable housing? These plans and visions that Zohran Mamdani put on the table that promised his young voters, right? Free buses and free amenities, city-owned grocery stores. Will this be the topic of conversation? Will it just be just a complete political theater, just a show? And honestly, most likely, it's going to be just a show. Anyone who's ever been involved in, knows attorneys. Anyone who's ever went through a divorce, two attorneys pretend that they're fighting it out. They pretend they hate each other. They go in the back room and they talk about what they did together over the weekend because they're all friends. And this appears to be the same thing, right? Is it going to be sound bites or just a conversation? Just make you believe that they're going at it. In the end, they're all the same level playing field. All the politicians, they're all on the same level playing field. They're all part of the elites. They want they want real estate developing in New York City. They want to be a part of the economic apparatus. So while Zohran Mamdani talked about being this warrior and pushing back completely on Donald Trump, and as Marlon said before, he's not even the mayor yet, and they're already sitting down and they're having a great conversation. It's all theater since the beginning. Nothing has changed. The cycle just keeps continuing. If it was Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo or your Democratic Socialist, it's the same conversation.
Yeah, so we saw a couple of different versions of Eric Adams, but my favorite, the most contrasting versions of Eric Adams were Eric Adams pre-indictment and Eric Adams post-indictment. Pre-indictment, he was a far-left progressive, anti-police radical. Post-indictment, he was MAGA. He was a conservative. He was pushing back against open borders, even though he called for them to be open for 3 years and welcome the entire world here. He was calling for government efficiency. He was a crime fighter. And so here what you see is we already got a huge contrast in Zohran Mamdani, because this is Zohran Mamdani pre-election, and we're going to show you Zohran Mamdani post-election. Watch this video.
My administration would be Donald Trump's worst nightmare. I have many disagreements with the president, and I believe that we should be relentless and pursue all avenues and all meetings that could make our city affordable for every single New Yorker. I intend to make it clear to President Trump that I will work with him on any agenda that benefits New Yorkers.
So there it is. Pre-indictment, he was Donald Trump's pre-election, he was Donald Trump's worst nightmare. Post-election, he will work with Donald Trump on anything. And here's the real thing, right? Like, what's going to change? Nothing's changing. I mean, as of right now, most people in America think Zohran Mamdani's the mayor. They don't even realize that Eric Adams is still the mayor. Eric Adams isn't really sure that he's still the mayor. So, like, there's nothing going to change from the day to day. When January 1st takes in, nothing. I mean, what happens? How many changes happen in City Hall? Yeah, a couple of jobs move around, but is anybody that matters? Anybody that you're really going to notice? Nope. It's all the same stuff. Same de Blasio cronies, same Adams cronies. And what's Zohran Mamdani going to accomplish? We already know what he's going to accomplish. We already told you what he's going to do. He's going to get universal child care passed, right? Everybody's on board for this. And that's all he's going to get passed for this 4 years. That's what he's going to accomplish. It's not going to be free buses. New York City is going to continue to be unaffordable. Your salaries aren't going up. He's not raising taxes on the wealthy. He's not raising taxes on business. For you, the poor and the middle class, the cost of your living is going to continue to grow up. And Donald Trump or Zohran Mamdani aren't going to do a damn thing about it.
Yeah. And Zohan, like we said before, Zohan can't be the candidate of change if he's bringing exactly the same people back into the administration that were there in the last administration, the administration that he criticized as well. So I'm also going to say that I think we will see some changes, but I think the changes we're going to see are they're going to be the same agenda that's coming from the White House, meaning again that Zohan is not the candidate of change. He's just another part of the establishment, and Trump has already proposed a lot of kind of socialist leaning changes on his own. So again, what you see coming from Zohan isn't it won't be. Don't expect anything revolutionary, and which again speaks to the the anger I think we're going to see soon from Zohan's from the far left. I've said before that like populism is like it's very big right now, and it's being expressed differently on the right and on the left. On the right, it was like the Tea Party and MAGA, base MAGA, okay, not what it's become, which is like corporate MAGA. And on the left, it's being manifested in the form of socialism, okay, and more left-leaning young people. But either, as you can see from like certainly from those of us who voted for Trump, we're not happy with what he's doing, And I think soon you're going to see those on the left who voted for Mamdani expecting change are going to be unhappy as well, because you're not getting that change. You're getting more establishment. So.
Yeah, you what you just showed is the difference between people that give you lip service to get elected, and then when they come in, they govern completely different. But New York City, that's why you're low information. Bill de Blasio did the same thing. You voted for him twice. I told you this guy is a Bill de Blasio retread. He did exactly what Bill de Blasio did. And you all bought he was going to be, he said he was going to fundamentally change CCRB and all that stuff. And it's the same thing. It's going to be the same thing. Only got to have the soccer mom running loose. It's amazing how you praise someone who's literally got zero police experience and zero significant achievements. Zero. And because she's there, whatever he wants to do now, you're going to accept. Meanwhile, crime, they do not count shootings unless it hits a body, a human being. So you don't even count a shooting, so you keep your numbers lower. I've literally proven in a 106 precinct, one out of many, they are fudging numbers. They are fudging numbers all over the place because people are getting killed, assaulted, robbed all over the place. They keep telling you crime is down. No, crime's not. How is it down when every day there's a plethora of videos of stuff that's going on all over the place? Kaz Dordrew made an appearance the other day. He came out of the shadows after he disappeared because he's too busy trying to put in for 3 quarters, apparently. But they said there was 6.5 felonies a day only in transit, and you believe that. It's like you'll believe anything these people tell you. That's your problem. The difference between most of the people here in the chat and us, you're right. Marlon's right. We voted for Trump, but we're not happy with what we're seeing, and we're very vocal about it. Most of you people already in New York City, Tish is there, so everything's fine. We're going to forget about all plus they smeared this guy. They said Sharia law was coming to New York City. I want to see what Ina Vernikov's going to say when he's shaking hands with Benjamin Netanyahu when he shows up. Because I thought he was going to arrest him. Remember, we have to bring him January 1st. I don't know why we're going to do that in New York City, why you want to do that. But he allegedly is going to arrest them. I didn't know the NYPD could enforce international law. Listen, that's you. Everybody fell for this garbage. It's really like it is WWE. You fall for those promos and think this is all real, and then they're in the back laughing at you. Like, I can't believe it. But this should show you politicians are great. Their rhetoric when they get up there to get elected is one thing to get you suckered in, and when they govern, it's the complete opposite. One, you could say you have a guy that said America first, and I don't really know if it's America first right now in the country.
Well, listen, the bottom line is Zohran Mamdani, you got to admit, he's pretty slick. He's pretty slick that he actually made these promises that in reality, everyone knows cannot actually come to fruition. And we know that any proposal in government, unless it's anti-cop, is extremely slow moving. Anytime there's a proposal that's anti-cop, somehow those move much faster, when they're proposed by city council. But any other proposal moves much slower. It's set a snail's pace. But this is complete WWE. The reality is, I mean, these are two polar opposites having a conversation here, right? One, you can envision, it's almost like having a barista sit down with a WWE wrestler. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's never really had a real job. He never really did anything as a state assemblyman. He doesn't have much experience. And then you have the most law and order obsessed president meeting together. If it was a real conversation, there would be a lot of opposition. They wouldn't be willing to work together at all. How would they be willing to work together? I mean, you have a guy, Zohran Mamdani, who's your mayor-elect. John said earlier, he's not the mayor yet. Eric Adams, if you didn't know, you're still the mayor. And if anyone else doesn't know, he's still the mayor until January 1st. And last I checked, we haven't even hit Thanksgiving yet. So Zohran Mamdani, his plan is to put the NYPD at the bottom of the pecking order and have a social work apparatus where it's this community-based policing. And Donald Trump, his answer in response to anything in law enforcement is to send the National Guard. So, I mean, this is complete polar opposite. So how could they work together? So Zohran Mamdani saying that he wants to work with him means that his plan may not actually be as deep as we expect. Because if they actually plan to work together, that would be impossible. That would be impossible. So maybe this whole sale also in this vision of community policing is not going to be as deep with these social workers as we expect, because to me, it doesn't make sense. How could they be willing to work together? We have one person, his answer is National Guard, and one person, their answer is social workers. So that's completely like oil and water. So right there, I could just seep through this information and say, it's total bullshit.
Yeah, I think, listen, he's not going to be able to really debate Trump or do anything like that. He's definitely going to be the beta in the room, and he's going to go there with his head down. Like he might put a soundbite up. He's an actor, the kid. Don't forget, he's an actor. He's a failed rapper too. So he's definitely getting prepped for something. You know what I mean? Like they're going to prep him for a moment. So he had some type of, and I don't think Trump's going to totally smack him around either. I think, but you're going to realize who the alpha in the room is. It's clearly going to be Donald Trump. I mean, it's not going to be Zohran Mamdani. He's basically, that's basically his level of experience is being a barista, So now you're sitting down with one of the world's greatest businessmen, the most powerful man in the world, the president of the United States. But I think, when you look at Zohran Mamdani on the political scale, he is kind of a Donald Trump figure when you look at what, Marlon was alluding to, this populist, socialist, left-wing movement that's coming up. And that's how they see Zohran Mamdani. They see him as like this anti-establishment Democrat, which he's anything but. You know, he is everything. He's just propped up on stage. He's about as anti-establishment as Benny Johnson is independent news. You know, like he's tied to the mainstream, just like Zohran Mamdani is. So I don't think you're going to see anything much out of this hearing. And honestly, you know, all the stuff about Zohran Mamdani's police department, how he was going to destroy the NYPD, none of that's coming to fruition. Again, everything that he talked about is already there, right? We had the homeless outreach unit, which was a bunch of cops that ran around with social workers and other not-for-profits that would offer homeless people and mentally ill people services on the streets in New York City. Bill de Blasio pulls that down. Eric Adams brings back a quasi version of it that's not nearly as effective. And, you know, and even that's like failing on its face. And yeah, will that probably ramp up that program under Zohran Mamdani? Yeah, but this whole that he's going to push in this radical change in policing, it's not going to happen, because if it does, he's going to be a one-term mayor. New York City's crime rate's going to go through the roof. Businesses are going to flee. His whole agenda and the whole Democratic platform is going to fail miserably. So they're going to need to prop it up. So it's going to be business as usual. The police department is still going to lose 300 plus officers a month. They're still going to tell you that there's 34,000 plus officers when there's not. And they're real well where they're going to get people to become New York City cops, or they're going to traffic agents and they're going to school safety agents. And that's what they're doing. And they're offering lucrative salaries for them to do that. That's all they're doing. So are they going to continue to further neuter the New York City Police Department? Absolutely. Are they going to continue to further emasculate the New York City Police Department? Absolutely. Are they going to, is CCRB going to crush more cops and cops going to get fired? Absolutely, that's going to happen. But that was going to happen regardless who won this election. And that's what you're not understanding. There was 1 million voters who voted for Zohran Mamdani, and any Democrat candidate you put there, they want those 1 million voters, and they're going to bow to those 1 million voters, and they're going to bow to those special interest groups. And this is what they want. They want the New York City Police Department to fundamentally change. This is no different than it was in 2020. Everything Eric Adams told you in 2020, he was still doing in 2024 post-indictment. He just changed what he was saying. That's it. So, like, there's nothing new here. And everything else is just theater. I personally, when I look at Donald Trump, when I look at Tom Homan, when I look at Kash Patel, when I look at Dan Bongino, I know one thing. They don't really have a public safety mindset, and they're not too forward-thinking people, and they just don't see the whole big picture. So I'm totally think that I don't think Donald Trump sees the big picture either when it comes to law enforcement. I think it's a very intricate puzzle to piece together, and I think only a few people understand it. And it's not Eric Adams, it's not Donald Trump. Zohran Mamdani is going to fail at it. And Tisha's been the police commissioner over a year, and I don't think she understands it.
Well, I'm gonna say that understanding the big picture, it means to a certain degree willing to change what's not working. And I think what these guys are showing is that it's business as usual, like you said, And I think in a lot of ways, New York City is in the problems that it's in now, because it's operating as business as usual, And I'm not saying that like far left policy, like a lot of the nonsense Zohan was throwing out there, like free buses or city run groceries, is the answer. But I'm saying that one of the problems in New York is that New York thinks it's still winning, like if it's 20 years ago, when it's not winning and it's losing to other big cities, and they refuse to toss out what's not working, or to hold people accountable, and that includes even the voters too, apparently, from this last election, and they refuse to make the changes to make New York City, compete with these other large cities like the ones in Houston, in Texas, and like Miami and South Florida, which are attracting all our businesses. The unwillingness to make those changes is again goes back to the fact that the people who the big money behind all these guys, the big money that Tish is and her family represents, don't want to be on the losing end of any. They don't want to lose the kind of the roles and the influence that they've amassed, and because they don't want to do this, we're all going to be losing. And the city, it's very hard to explain this to people because they look around and a lot of people don't see the changes because it's like a boiling frog. But what's happening is we're losing. It's just happening slowly. And one day you'll wake up and you'll realize that New York City is no longer the the city that you recognize from like 20 years ago. And one last thing, the Zohan can't deliver a lot of the things that he's promising. What he will do is give out sacrificial policies, or in the case of cops, sacrificial lambs to satisfy his base. So it'll be hollow stuff that really doesn't solve the problems that young people are facing. He'll like sacrifice cops to the CCRB, or like this baby baskets nonsense. He'll probably go along with too. But those are all little gestures to appease his base and keep them from getting angry at the fact that they're not getting changes that'll meaningfully improve their lives.
I see people in the chat warning me, thinking about the meeting today. Look, Trump's going to have this meeting. It's 3 p.m. He's already thinking about coming to Mar-a-Lago tonight. I mean, you just don't know how that guy really operates. But I'm wondering, the cops were going to resign, right? All the cops were going to leave. Remember, Scott Monroe had a huge thing. It's going to be pandemonium. Now they're all what? They're all looking to, the soccer mom's here, so who's going to drive her? Who's going to? Meanwhile, and she might be with her favorite chief, that she's very, very close with. So, you got suckered in a way that it's almost laughable that people could be that low information that you fell for all this crap. I just remember how they were saying they used the police department as like this cover for doom and gloom, and it's always business as usual, People like when it was me and John yesterday, when telling John, how many people called John a Marxist? It's funny that people, why is John a Marxist? Because he told you the truth? Right now, give me a cop that's going to say, I'm leaving the job because Zohran Mamdani is the mayor. I still don't know what this means because I've never seen a cop say I'm resigning because of the mayor. This guy's never done anything to me directly, but I'm going to resign because of him. That was a whole narrative here, and they try to fundamentally change the police department when it's just business as usual. It's the same thing. You're just going to have a couple of things being altered, like the CRT team. Definitely they're not going to stick around much longer. But I told you the only reason the CRT team existed was to give a certain disgraced chief of department. I hope he could hobble around today with his bad ankle. Give him his third star. He was never going to get a star because the black community wants nothing to do with this guy being any kind of a 3-star or 4-star chief because he killed someone. So they came up with this elaborate scheme of CRT. It's the truth. I'm not lying. They should have never been around. It should have always been some kind of precinct anti-crime. They decided to do it this way to help their little pal. And that's great. I mean, the guy has a huge pension now. Once again, you all got bamboozled. You don't ask any questions. And this is what you're seeing. It's going to be the same thing. It didn't matter who you elected. As long as they were a Democrat, same agenda, same policies. And then these DSA people, all those college kids, the joke's on you. I mean, that's why young people, when they vote, this is why they say when you're young, you're stupid. You all vote. This guy is barely going to do anything for you. If you're lucky if this guy passes one thing. And I think he probably could get the rent freeze because Bill de Blasio did it 3 times. Of course, Andrew Cuomo had to sign off on that. People forgot about it. But he got it done 3 times. He's going to be able to do that. It's just unbelievable how gullible people are. But that's why, WWE is one of the biggest forms of entertainment in the world and $1 billion company, because people are susceptible to being, had. And this is what you have here. And the more we talk about this, the more you realize we really were had. But in 4 years, you'll be had again. Trust me.
Well, that's my point. After thinking about this and after understanding that there's a meeting between Donald Trump and Zohran Mamdani, I said to myself, there's no way that this vision of having this community public safety team and put the NYPD at the bottom of the pecking order is as thick as we've been sold this lie. I mean, and create this fear-mongering, right? Create this fear-mongering for anyone that's law and order, but also pander to people that have this complete bias and disdain for policing. Because to me, and now I've made the assumption, the reality is that even Zohran Mamdani is this democratic socialist and being the face of the Democratic Party, being so anti-police, that the reality is the police department's not going anywhere. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to create a community public safety team or have that form of apparatus, but I don't think it's going to be as toppled as we expected, as we've been sold, because it's just impossible, right? And maybe it will at some point, but it would have to be a slower transition, because he knows the reality. And that's why, Marlon and I have discussed this, that even though he's called the NYPD racist, he's been anti-police himself. I mean, since 2020, a lot of anti-rhetoric coming out of his mouth also. The reality is, as the mayor, he knows that the police is an integral part for public safety. Eric Adams, the only thing he's ever said right is that public safety is the key to prosperity for New York City. Public safety is such an important foundation. So there's no difference with Eric Adams or Zohran Mamdani or Andrew Cuomo. It's the same thing. Every one of them would sit down with Donald Trump. They're going to tell you, yeah, we're going to fight. And then you put them two in a room together and they find a level playing field. The level playing field is what Marlon's been telling you. It's about the economics. Economics is number one. So when it comes to the NYPD, there's not much change. And I can tell you this, I was on the Executive Perspective on Wednesday. Rob and I had a great conversation talking about surviving Zohran Mamdani, right? How are the cops going to survive Zohran Mamdani? And I realized after conversation, it's not really surviving Zohran Mamdani if you're an NYPD cop. It's not even surviving Eric Adams. It's surviving the NYPD leadership. How is the NYPD leadership going to disseminate information throughout the department or decimate morale in the department under the mayor that they're pandering to? So it's really surviving NYPD leadership. Cops don't leave because of the mayor. They leave because of the NYPD leadership. That's why they leave. Morale gets destroyed, and all these internal factors that penetrate morale is because of the failed NYPD leadership. Yes. Does it make a difference if there's a mayor that's pro-law enforcement? Of course, it makes it easier. However, none of these NYPD leaders, 2- and 3-star chiefs, have the balls to actually stand up to the mayor and say, here's policy, and here's how we withstand morale, and they don't get any support. And there's the same thing with the unions. The unions aren't pushing back and saying, hey, this is what we do to support them, because it's all about me. Self-image, self-promotion. We take care of ourselves. We're chiefs, we're unions, we take care of ourselves. So it's not surviving Zohran. It's surviving the NYPD leadership.
I think it's surviving Jessica Tisch is what I really think. That's really what it is. It's surviving Jessica Tisch. That's what it is. So I think last thing on this whole like perception before we move over to the CCRB and all this. This is Sid Rosenberg, right? Because we heard what Errol Lewis said. Errol Lewis asked John Catsimatidis, are you going to tone down the hate speech? Now, I don't think anything that Sid said was hate speech. I just think it was inflammatory. It was meant to scare you. It was meant to change voter perception. It was more of an election interference than it had anything to do and narrative pushing. And I don't believe in hate speech. Sid's allowed to say whatever he wants. This is America. Catsimatidis tells Errol Lewis, well, that's normal. Before November 4th, it was war. Now it's November 5th, and now it's peace, right? Now we want to make friends with Zohran Mamdani. Here's what Sid Rosenberg had to say about that.
I hate him.
By referring to it. Right, okay.
So what? I can say that. I can say that. So what? By the way, any decent New Yorker, certainly any Jew, should hate this bastard. And they do. By the way, he didn't get 60% of the vote. He didn't get 50% of the vote. This is not a mandate by New Yorkers. More New Yorkers agree with me, Sid Rosenberg, about Mamdani than this idiot Errol Lewis. I hate him.
Wait, so I didn't even know. I must have misread what that clip was. So Sid Rosenberg right there just tells you he has no idea what happened in the mayoral election. It was a mandate by New Yorkers. He got 51% of the vote, Zohran Mamdani, and he won over 70% of young Jewish voters. 70% of young Jewish voters in New York City voted for Zohran Mamdani. So clearly, Sid Rosenberg has zero clue what he was talking about. I mean, and this is what we're saying is like, you can't believe what these talking heads on TV, on the radio, and what these news reporters are reporting in mainstream media, because it's narrative pushing. Here he is narrative pushing more. Oh, it wasn't a mandate by New Yorkers. It clearly was a mandate, a narrative by New Yorkers, because there wasn't enough other votes to beat him. If you would have combined all of the independent votes, if you would have combined Sliwa, if you would have combined Cuomo, if you would have combined all the votes for candidates that weren't even on there and all the write-ins, there were not enough votes to beat Zohran Mamdani. So this guy, I mean, he should stick to sports or something, dude, because this clearly isn't.
Yeah, well, you know, if like the WABC didn't like make up their own, which is what literally is happening here, is like they're making up their own narrative, you know. If they didn't weren't able to make up their own narrative, what would they have to talk about, you know? Like I said, young people you know, aren't really watching that channel. And I think most of these guys are so detached from, you know, normal, you know, the normal everyday life of people. See, the thing is, like, I think if you've been in the media for so long, like you kind of first of all, you're not working a regular job anymore, right? And you're kind of detached from the everyday existence, the everyday lives of normal people. So what do you have to talk about on these shows? You know, how do you relate to an audience of regular people? You know, you can't. And if they weren't able to make up their own narrative here, what would they be talking about?
I was going to have him on a show soon. You know, look, he may not be good with numbers, I think, Sid. Maybe he's got something wrong with him. But 33% of the Jewish population voted for Zohran Mamdani. 51% in a three-man race. That is a mandate that the voters overwhelmingly voted for him. You know, I don't know what he's got a personal problem, or he's doing a shtick to try to get him on the show. I don't know. This guy lives in a fantasy world about Trump. He thinks Trump is everything and anything. You know, next year you could be talking about Trump getting impeached at this time. So I don't know why this guy throws all his eggs in one basket like all the time. You know, look, at one time he was saying he was Curtis Lewa's best friend and his campaign manager, which was never the case. He also said he was closer to him than Scott Lebedo, which was another lie. He also was telling you Jack Ciattarelli is going to be the next governor of New Jersey. That was another lie. He also said that Cuomo was going to win his primary. Another lie. So, I mean, and he also voted for Hillary Clinton. To take this guy serious, really, you know, and I've been on the air with the guy, but the guy was like hell-bent on, I don't like Eric Adams, that he's sitting down with him and he's going out to dinner with him again. How serious do you want to take this guy, really? I mean, let's just be honest. When I hear that, you know, he said some other crazy things. You'll find other clips with him. But WABC is now doing everything it can to have Mamdani on the station. But the one thing everybody keeps missing is that you saw that, yeah, Kathy Hochul was the reason the soccer mom's still the police commissioner. And Kathy Hochul has this open line of communication with Mamdani this whole time. Guess who is her very close, dear friend who contributes a ton of money to her? John Catsimatidis. So John always knew what was going on. He just doesn't say it publicly, but he knows that he's always going to be okay. You guys aren't in New York City, but he will, because he's part of the billionaire class. So all of that rhetoric to do what? because I think he wanted Cuomo, because at least with Cuomo, he knew that those deals they were going to make were already set. Now he's got to actually make a new deal. So these guys are lazy. But it was always that. And you're just seeing it play out. But to hear that rhetoric, I can't imagine what this idiot Bill Bratton's going to say next. Another guy. He's another winner.
All right, here's the bottom line. No one, well, at least the majority of people, maybe just elderly people that, are not really too much on social media, are invested or trusted in mainstream media or talk show radio for like WABC. So I think Sid Rosenberg is so loud, so boisterous, and so opinionated at this point because he has to constantly reinvent himself to stay relevant in this game, especially competing with podcasts, small podcasts like the Finest Unfiltered Network. So he has to compete because the reality is, and it's exactly what you just said, Sal. One day the guy's friends with Curtis Lewa. One day he's telling you to vote for Andrew Cuomo. One day he's telling you that Zohran Mamdani is a jihadist. So who trusts him at this point? Nothing out of his mouth is consistent at this point. He's just loud and boisterous just so people listen to him. So his opinions fall flat in their feet because it's mainstream media. It falls to mainstream media. That's talk show radios. People don't have trust into it anymore. They listen to podcasts. They want to listen to real people that actually had their boots on the ground. When people are interested, even police enthusiasts, not just former cops or cops themselves, want to hear about police work or how police tie into politics and how they weave in together. You don't want to hear it from Sid Rosenberg. You want to hear it from the Finest Unfiltered, people that actually had their boots on the ground. So here's a guy who's telling you, hey, I can sell houses. I'm a good realtor. Meanwhile, he's a baker. This is a guy that just constantly has to reinvent himself. He has to be loud just so people listen, just to keep himself relevant because it's a dying industry. That's the bottom line. Talk show radio, mainstream media, it's a dying industry. So he has to find a way to keep himself relevant.
Yeah, no, and they use guys like this, like on the screen right now, former two-time NYPD commissioner of the NYPD from Boston, Bill Bratton. This guy is the biggest political grifter. I mean, anyone that considers this guy a cop or a cop's cop at this point. I mean, him and Joe Fox, he's just the real Joe Fox. Joe Fox is the Temu Bill Bratton. That's all it is. Like this guy's making a ton of money off of this profession and off of being the voice of the profession. And he's full of crap. He doesn't talk for the rank and file officers. He came out and he told you 2 years ago that if they put a casino in Times Square, that it would bring crime down. I mean, study after study, place after place. Go anywhere where there's a casino. Tell me where it's safe. Tell me where there's not crime. Tell me where there's not prostitution. Tell me where there's not robberies, where there's not assaults, where there's not drug deals. Tell me where that is. Because I don't know. Bill Bratton somehow invented that, That's, he wrote an op-ed in either the Daily News or the New York Post how that was going to keep crime down. And then he went on further this entire election cycle. And he told you that Zohran Mamdani is an existential threat to New York City. How every New York City police officer would leave and it would be a crisis, crime would skyrocket. And now here we are after the election. Zohran Mamdani's the mayor because he helped the 3-card Mamdani scam where you decided to play. You decided, is it Eric Adams? Is it Andrew Cuomo? No, you're always getting Zohran Mamdani. It was either you were going to vote differently, go for the actual populist candidate, Curtis Lewa, or you were getting Zohran Mamdani. So most of you decided to play the game. You thought you could win the 3-card Mamdani, and now you're finding out that you can't. So here's Bill Bratton now, post the election.
What your take is on the commissioner saying she's going to stay on board?
Well, I think like most New Yorkers and certainly members of the NYPD that I'm pleased that she has decided to stay.
Of course.
The continuity of the programs that she has put in place over the last year are going to be critical to keep the crime reduction and disorder control going into the new year and into the new administration of the new mayor. So it's a good day, good news day for New Yorkers.
Some would say that it's it's before the holiday. It's that a lot of people woke up to that.
Well, I've described it as Christmas and Thanksgiving came together early this year.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true. Let me ask you some things because you see things from inside in ways that most people don't. Did you talk to her at all? Has she talked at all about this with anyone that said, "Hey, I had my doubts, but I want to do it"? Was there anything?
No, we have had no conversation in recent weeks about the decisions she was making, that she has now made. Ironically, I'm just coming from an event over at the Javits Center where she was being honored as Person of the Year by the As Is International Organization, the American Society for Industrial Security. And she made brief remarks that echoed the comments that she made to members of the department in her email to the department members this morning, commenting that she really feels privileged to be allowed to continue in the position. She talks openly that her and the new mayor-elect have some policy differences, but that on critical ones of importance in terms of the focus on crime and disorder control, dealing with the corruption issues that she inherited from previous administrations, they have a shared vision.
And how was the response inside that inside the event? How was the response?
She was received very well. These are security directors of many large companies, many of them former NYPD. No, received very, very well, as you might expect.
All right, so complete fluff piece. He's sitting there telling you he's had no conversations with her, about this, which is a complete bold-faced lie, because they knew since the summer that she was going to be the police commissioner, and she relies heavily on this man and Ray Kelly to run their administration. That's why all the cops are miserable. And because of these are the idiots that are saying it. And he's talking about how she won an award at the AISS, right? Which is, it's just an award of security professionals. They do executive protection. They do security outside of corporate businesses. They don't know that some of them are former member NYPD guys. I know a lot of them. I know a lot of the people that head the organization. I know a lot of people that made her the award winner, and like, the thing is, like, every police commissioner wins the award. It's not like this award, you actually won the award because you did something. I mean, it's a joke. It's like, they even know. You laud the police commissioner of the NYPD because it's the largest department in the world. Maybe the next year you do it for Chicago. Maybe the next year you do it for LA. And then you come back to New York again. This is what it is. The majority of people sitting in that conference have no idea about the internal workings of the New York City Police Department, even those that were in it at one time. They don't know what's happening right now at the moment, and they don't understand it. They thought that Sharia law was coming to America, and now they're hearing that Jessica Tisch has saved the New York City Police Department. So like, that's legitimately like the level we're dealing with. So I just thought it was super funny that this guy was completely fear-mongering, like Sid Rosenberg. Sid's got to he's got to bring it down in notches, like with volumes. He's going to keep turning it down, because he brought it all the way up here. So he's got to get it to here before you guys, so you guys don't totally reject him. But like Bill Bratton just flipped on a dime. No, everything's good now. Everything's good now. Jessica Tisch, well received. Everything's good. New York City's fine. They have some policy differences, but their visions align.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he Bratton's like the mouthpiece of establishment corporatism now. He's gonna do and say whatever they want him to say, and go along with whatever narrative they want him to go along with. As now he's now part of that security industrial complex that he mentions in there. About the association of security companies with retired NYPD officials. So he's part of that complex now. So he's gonna do and say whatever they tell him to basically defend the entire system. And I continue to be disappointed that he doesn't use that pulpit for what he should be doing, which is advocating for the cops on the street, and not the elitists in New York City. And the fact that Tisch leans on him and Kelly so much is also should also disappoint us, because what should be happening is that we should be the PC. See, one of the problems I see in New York is that there's no next Bratton, there's no next Kelly up in line, and I think the fact that they got somebody in on the top 4 1PP who has no policing experience and was never a cop, and she leans on two guys who are both in their elderly ages right now, and the fact that the department didn't look to get like a younger, newer face with experience on the department. There are plenty of them who have all left, who are leaving, because the job isn't there's no more path for them on the job. And I think the fact that there's no next Bratton or no next Kelly is something else that's hurting the job.
But what about we have the next Jack Maple though? We have Kaz Daughtry.
Yeah, that guy.
Super impressive. If anybody believes that Bratton doesn't speak to Jessica Tisch on a daily basis, I'll sell you a bridge. I can sell you a bridge right now. That is the most full of shit answer response I've ever heard. He's probably speaks to her more than once a day, every day. He's her confidant. Are you kidding me?
His cronies definitely are. They work for her. So he's talking about the her vast knowledge in the security state, because she's the surveillance queen. I mean, he got a lawsuit right now. They got a camera facing some guy's apartment for the last 8 years or whatever it is, and she was the person that ushered that in. Remember, she was a deputy commissioner of technology under Bill de Blasio. So she's worked on the two. I don't even want to call him communists now. He worked for de Blasio and Mamdani. She was always the person that had no problem with this. The only integrity she has is that she wants some kind of position or run for office. There's something they're pushing this woman for, even though she's clearly inept and can't do it. She is the soccer mom. She's a soccer mom. You can't push a soccer mom forward. Everyone's laughing, but this little elite circle of people think that she's great. How about the cops right now that are facing charges and getting just destroyed by Jessica Tisch? Because punishment has skyrocketed. It's taken a big tick upwards. You just don't hear about it. And it's not based on anything corruption-wise, because that's flourishing. Just look around you. All the people that were involved in that stuff, their underlings are still around. They're still doing the same things. You don't hear about anything. You still have people hanging out with Jimmy Rodriguez. It's like business as usual. But everybody's saying she's so great. Yet the rank and file is getting destroyed. You leave something behind in an RMP, the car by mistake, and the next toy sees it, you're getting destroyed for that. And she's going to see to it. She's making everybody go around and check on cops to see these investigative units, like these stupid, whatever they are, investigations, inspections. This is coming from her. Her whole thing is, this is what Bratton and Kelly did, and she's bringing that forward. What significant achievement has she done other than lower the morale even more than it was? It could have possibly been any lower under Caban and Donlin, who didn't even know what was going on. No, it is. It is. Yet Bratton is sitting there. Bratton, by the way, who stole Jack Maple's ideas and made it like he did the whole thing himself. This guy's not going to educate you all on how great this woman is and that we should be throwing pom-poms for her. It's really sickening, but it shows how many low information people you have in New York City and the New York Post that loves this woman.
Well, I think at this point, honestly, it's like the tale of two Brattons, or we could actually say, who's the real Bratton here? Because Bratton built his reputation on broken windows, intrusive police work, proactive policing, until it wasn't popular anymore, right? Because the second Bratton that came in under former Mayor Bill de Blasio was quite different, right? Quite different, with leading towards neighborhood coordination officer program, leading towards community-type policing. SRG was just a new name for the task force. Nothing has changed. They're doing the same response. It's a mobile field force, just a different response with some extra training. That was really the caveat to SRG. It was task force. It still is the same thing. It's a mobile force response with some extra training. That part I agree. They should get extra training. But Bratton is full of shit. To tell the public that he doesn't speak to Jessica Tisch is quite a lie. Whether he actually speaks to her personally on a daily basis or through his people, there's conversation quite often. Bratton, sometimes it makes me question that maybe their rift between Bratton and Giuliani was legit, right? Maybe Bratton did take credit for a lot of stuff that he didn't do. Maybe he did take credit for Jack Mabel. Maybe it was Rudy Giuliani that was more of an enforcer with crime than Bratton himself, and Bratton just played along because Bratton seems to do a great job of playing along because he's playing along right now. And like Marlon always tells you, because it comes down to the mighty dollar. That's the most important thing. It keeps him relevant, keeps him in the game, and he's still making money.
It's dude, the whole thing's a joke, man. So all right, let's get on to NYPD now. Let's get on to what changes are really gonna happen, right? So here's Mamdani with Eric Adams go-to cakewalk interviews so that they could tell you what's coming out next, Dan Mamarino. So here it is. Let's see what Zohran Mamdani. This is going to be about policing and the CCRB. You ready?
She wants the authority to discipline officers. You've said you want to pass that off now to the Civilian Complaint Review Board. What was that conversation with the police commissioner? Is she going to have final say for disciplinary action?
So when I've been speaking to the commissioner, but also when I've been speaking to New Yorkers, I speak about outcomes. And we talked about with the NYPD, safety and justice is what we have to deliver, but also accountability.
Yeah.
And right now, what we see is that the CCRB has to deal with questions of petty politics and budget battles. You know, in 2024, under this current mayor, the CCRB had to drop at least 700 cases due to a lack of funding. And so what I've said, whether it be to the commissioner or to the people of the city, is that I'm going to put an end to that by fully funding the CCRB so that no longer are we having to question whether we can follow through on a case because we don't have the requisite amount of money.
So who has the final say?
Under the city charter right now, that's the commissioner. The question is, can the CCRB even follow through on the complaints? I'm going to make it my job to follow through on that by fully funding it.
But for the time being, she will have final say for disciplinary action until you figure out the funding issue.
Yes, that's within the city charter, and the funding issue has to do with whether the CCRB can actually take up the cases.
And I want to stay on the disagreements. Just
So there you go. He tells you it right there, right? That's what's going to happen, right? CCRB eventually will get final disciplinary authority, but right now that's kind of off the table, right? What's going to happen is CCRB is actually in 2024, they dropped over 2,000 cases. So not 600, like he said, but they dropped over 2,000 cases that they weren't able to investigate. And a lot more they kicked back to the NYPD. And that'll continue. So what he's saying is, I'm going to fully fund the CCRB, meaning they're going to have the staff they've been asking for. And they're going to be able to investigate every single case that's within their purview. Now, again, I've been saying for a long time that the CCRB is a completely incompetent agency. And you're going to see that very shortly because they're going to get, I think they're going to need to get a staff of like another 200-300 people to keep up with what they want. Right? So that's one thing. So the CCRB, as it stands under Zohran Mamdani, is not going to get final disciplinary authority. That's going to stay with Jessica Tisch. And that's what they're going to use as Jessica Tisch's win and what she did to fight for you guys. That's what it is, you know, but eventually they'll get the final disciplinary authority. But like I said, does it really matter? She votes yes with CCRB 99.9% of the times. So does it matter? Does CCRB has the final disciplinary authority already? And I think once she explained that to Zohran Mamdani, he's like, this isn't even an issue. The issue is they're incompetent. They can't do their job. Why can't they do their job? Is because they don't have the resources. So he's going to give CCRB a lot more money. Where's he getting that money from? I would assume the New York City Police Department. Defund the police 3.0.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's always a boiling frog. You know, nothing ever happens overnight here. They do it slowly because they don't want people to notice the changes that are being made. So I do believe that they will take steps to make this happen, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen to the point where people would actually be upset about it. You know, again, if it happened, if they did so overnight, it's going to happen where every day, where, you know, there are new changes and new policy coming down from City Hall, where if we're slowly inching our way towards that happening. But again, they like the boiling frog because they don't want people to notice that you know, that their city is changing.
Yeah. So the reason Eric Adams dropped a lot of those cases because a lot of those cases incurring on his people, all his CRT people, all of Madry and Shell and Kaz Dodgers, all their boys were racking up CCRB. So he didn't want that, which is why he left it, whatever they had. But all you're seeing is CCRB is like the DSA agency of the New York City. So he's obviously throwing a bone to his people. The radicals is the one little thing they're going to get. They want to destroy cops' lives. They think the cops are evil. So he's not going to destroy the department completely because once you're in power, you like to know that you have like legal foot soldiers running around for you to do things for you, and you can't get in trouble for. That happened with Bill de Blasio, remember. But he loves CCRB. Why? Because that's the DSA agenda is we need to get rid of cops. We need to hate cops. But they also like cops because they need security for themselves. So it's always, rules for me and not for thee. Or rules for thee, not for me. So they're going to fund this whole thing. Eventually, they'll have the final say, just like they're going to get the body camera thing eventually. But she is, Jessica Tisch loves punishing people on the job. I just said before. So nothing's going to change other than now all the things that weren't being investigated prior that they, because Eric Adams didn't want to fund, having his boys get in trouble because that's what would have happened. Now that, they're going to go hardcore, and they're probably going to do it 2 times worse or far worse than they were because they got to make up for lost time. But this was the bone he threw to his DSA because CCRB is the DSA agency of New York City because they're going to fund all these wacko. You'll see them with the purple hair. They hate themselves. They hate their lives. They got the earrings in the nose and stuff. All these people that have serious, you question their psychological, evaluations. They're the ones that are going to be doing this. So this is the little bone he's throwing to his little DSA group of people.
Well, you're right about that, brother. I said that quite often. I talk about the CCRB. CCRB made its inception as an independent agency in 1993. It was supposed to be an investigative agency. It's far from it. It's actually a political agency at this point. Mm-hmm. And it's not the funding that's the problem. It's not the funding. It's CCRB that's the problem. They're inadequate or inept. They take years on investigations that it would take competent investigators several weeks to close a case. And the reason why it takes the CCRB so long, and they've actually testified to it, John and I have shown that in numerous episodes, plenty in the past, where the CCRB, when they do an investigation, it's on behalf of the emotions of the civilian complainant, and they carry out that investigation to find guilt on the police officers in any facet that they can. They reverse engineer cases or engineer them narrowly in a certain way so that they find guilt on the police officers. And if that means extending an investigation a year or several years, that's what they do. And they extend the statute of limitations by using the caveat, which is if the police officer could be convicted of a crime in court, then they could carry out and extend those statute of limitations. What does that mean? That means that CCRB can make anything up. If a police officer involved in a force case, they could say, well, in court, the police officer could be convicted of a crime because we feel that's an assault, and they extend those statute of limitations. So the problem is not funding. The problem is that the Civilian Complaint Review Board investigators are inept and inadequate. They have a complete bias and disdain for policing. So this is completely bureaucratic malpractice. That's what CCRB is. So you can give them another $1 billion and they'll still be inadequate because it's not actual cases by competent investigators that are neutral and allow an investigation to take its course. It's because the CCRB investigators are inadequate. And the reason why they're inadequate is because they're operating with a bias and disdain. So these investigations that could take several weeks. Some of these investigations, I sat down with interrogations for the Civilian Complaint Review Board for 4.5, 5 hours, asking the same question, trying to get me into a position, trying to trap me and hit me with what they consider a lie to terminate me or to terminate other police officers. And that's what the CCRB does. So it's their inability to do proper investigations. So you can give them $10 billion and it will never be right. The CCRB is an epic fail.
Yeah. So what's up right now is in City Council 2 days ago, they had a hearing about a bunch of things. About the transparency as it relates to the encrypted radios. We did a whole episode on that. We had Loud Labs on here, Adam Loud Labs, and we talked about how, what a part of the transparency we think with the encrypted radios is that they don't want you to know what the real response times are, and they don't want you to hear how inept the New York City Police Department has become. So they lock down the radios, citing safety issues for officers, without ever being able to point to one safety issue that has ever arose, right? They couldn't even point to one incident. So we played you that hearing. So we're not going to go into that here, but the other part of that hearing was they want CCRB to be given full unfettered access to NYPD body cameras. Right now, when body camera footage from an officer is taken, it's put into evidence.com, right? And so officers will be able to go in there, they're able to tag it, they're able to go through all these things. So there's a lot of different issues. There's a lot of different issues on why the CCRB shouldn't have unfettered access to this body camera video, and why this should go through the NYPD legal. For redacted videos, that means that the NYPD is coming in and scrubbing data, whether it be because it's in violation of HIPAA law, because HIPAA law applies again after COVID. Now we care about your HIPAA law again. So if it relates to victims of crimes, if it relates to rape victims, minors, identifying information, maybe somebody's address, that all has to be redacted prior to being released from the New York City Police Department, all that information. So for those videos, the CCRB gets those videos in under 30 days right now from the New York City Police Department. If the video doesn't have to be redacted, the CCRB gets them within under 7 days. So there's not really an issue as to the time frame of why CCRB needs these. So I watched the whole hearing yesterday. I put in a couple of clips. I honestly, I think Gerber is smart, and Michael Gerber is the Deputy Commissioner of Legal Matters, but I honestly think he was horrendous here. He only gives one issue as to why the CCRB shouldn't get access to body camera video. So I'm going to play that here, and then we'll discuss that. This is his opening testimony.
Intro 1451 would direct the department to give the CCRB direct access to the department's body-worn camera system. The fundamental problem is that in order to comply with this bill, the department would have to violate state sealing laws. We cannot do that, and I respectfully submit that the City Council should not put members of the NYPD in a position in which they are being directed by city law to violate state law. When a criminal case is sealed pursuant to one of several state statutes, the CCRB is not permitted to access those sealed records without a waiver from the defendant. Sometimes the CCRB obtains a waiver. We provide the CCRB with the sealed materials in a way that is no different than any other case. In the absence of a waiver, the NYPD has to redact any sealed information before providing it to the CCRB. For example, if the CCRB needs body-worn camera video, and a portion of that video depicts an arrest that was subsequently sealed, the NYPD must redact the defendant's face, voice, and any other identifying information before providing it to the CCRB. Providing the CCRB with direct access to the body-worn camera system means giving CCRB sealed records without a waiver and without redactions. That would violate state law. Unless the state law changes, we cannot legally give CCRB direct access to our body-worn camera system. I have been speaking about the legal problem with the bill, but I think it is important to make an additional point. The NYPD and the CCRB have been working collaboratively and successfully for years to ensure that the CCRB gets the material it needs. Unredacted video is typically produced to the CCRB in a little over a week. If video needs to be redacted in compliance with the stealing statutes, the CCRB will have that video on average within 1 month. The CCRB is getting these materials in a timely manner. That said, we would welcome the opportunity to work with the Council to address any concerns that it has about the production materials to the CCRB in a manner consistent with state law.
So he blames it on the state law of that, this information needs to be redacted solely when cases are locked down, right? Solely on that. That's the only thing he uses. There's a million other factors. And then he goes on to state how, don't put cops in a position to violate state law, but yet we have no problem putting cops in position to violate federal law. Right? We have no problem doing that, right? That like sanctuary city law, we got no problem with that one, right? No. You could violate federal law, right? Which I highly recommend that you guys don't, because you will find yourself on the wrong side of the prison bars. So I highly recommend you completely stay out of this little political battle they're having between federal and city, because you're going to lose, believe me. But here he's using that, saying, well, sealing, if the case is sealed, that's state law, and CCRB is not in there, so we can't give you access. I personally, again, I don't even see this as an issue, other than CCRB wants access to do fishing expeditions, to go through body camera and self-generate complaints, which is insane, because what you're going to hear later is how they can't even keep up with the complaints they have now.
Yeah. So, I guess Michael Gerber's a staunch constitutionalist. I guess he's a staunch defender of the Constitution, guys. So that's news to us now. Apparently, Constitution only matters when it's convenient for them. Okay,
except for the mandate, Marlon.
Yeah. And he, again, later on in the video, he goes on to mention the Constitution again, and how he says when there's a back and forth between him and another stalwart defender of civil rights in Tiffany Caban. Okay. Yeah. They both have a back and forth where Gerber says, he says, we want to do the very best to follow the law. Okay. And we should not be doing something that violates data law. I mean, you mean like the vaccine mandate, But it just goes to show you that the half-hearted efforts, every time NYPD shows up at city council, it's always a half-hearted effort at defending policy, And I think it's ultimately because, when you look at things, both Wall Street and the progressive industrial complex, they really want this. Let's be real here. If CCRB gets live footage access, Wall Street's eating off of that. That's more money for the contractors, and that's more money that's going to trickle down in campaign funds to the politicians. The whole complex is going to be eating crumbs off of that. Okay, because to me, that's the only explanation for why you get a half-hearted effort on his part to say why CCRB shouldn't have that access. If it's me showing up to city council, I'm gonna be there a while, because I'm gonna be dropping so much facts on you and reasons not to have this, besides just strictly the state law. Okay, and yet you never see this from them. Okay, you never see it from them, no matter who's there, no matter what issue it is. Defending NYPD policy is always a half-hearted effort. And I think it's ultimately because the big money in the city wants this to happen, and the people at the top of 1PP don't really care, Gerber wasn't a cop, Tish wasn't a cop. They're academics who run 1PP at the top. They don't care. This applies to the blue shirt plebs and peasants in the precincts, really.
I'm going to need this video sent to me for one. I'm going to show you how stupid, and this is so fake. He says there's a state law that you can't access sealed records and give it to them. So then, Mike, why did you access sealed records in my case? Mike, why does your internal affairs access sealed records in any case with cops internally? You violated that law and admitted it in a deposition. Not you, your crony, Daniel Cutter, who's an internal affairs lieutenant and a commanding officer of that fake group of people investigating and federal investigations, the NYPD, you know, the ones that were supposed to happen with Madry and them, you know, that's the unit. So if it's okay for you to use it internally, how are you using this excuse now to say CCRB can't have the records? You access sealed records. It's in the file. My file has a bunch of people you ran and looked into sealed records of people. You know, that's not even a state law. It's a court order. You were told not to do it. So now you have a problem. But when you use it again, this is the shield right now and then the sword later on. So when they want, you know, we have to access the sealed records, even though they know it's against the rules. Yeah, Group 25 raid, that's what it is. Against the law to do it. But then in the other sense, we can't because we can't violate the law. This is something that Eric Adams did too with the, you know, Corporation Counsel. I have to adhere to their advice. And then there's, I'm the mayor. I tell them what to do. So it's always the same thing with these people. So don't give me this nonsense about using the sealed records thing, because that's what you did in my case and many others when you access sealed records to say, oh, this guy, he was arrested in 1985 and you shouldn't be around him. Oh, I see Juju's in the chat, the lieutenant. Are you going to the college you teach at later? Or what are you doing here? Don't you have a college you have to teach at later?
So to me, this is almost like, rhetorically speaking, this is like CCRB having a sniper rifle on real-time body camera footage, right? Because they could watch the real-time and pick out, you know, what they feel is problematic. I watch this thing on social media. You know, sometimes I don't really sit on social media, but sometimes you're bored. I was sitting in my car. My daughter was playing. She was doing jiu-jitsu. I was sitting. I was waiting. I'm watching. And I started scrolling through some social media. And it came up. There was this guy who was a mechanic. And he said, things you don't do. Things you don't tell your mechanic. And one of them was, don't watch your mechanic do their whole job. Because you make the mechanic uncomfortable. You don't know what you're looking at. It shows them that that you don't trust them. I said, wow, this is what it's like to be a cop, right? You got a body camera footage on you and people watch you all day. And especially the Civilian Complaint Review Board that has no idea what it is to do police work wants to watch you in real time. So that makes the police officers uncomfortable. That makes it a dangerous situation. And he also talked about the mechanic. Like, for instance, sometimes they do things when they take parts, when they start to take apart things, the way they take it apart, the way they put it down, that someone, a layman's person that has no idea what they're doing, like, oh my God, what are they doing to my car? You would think that they're destroying your car. And it goes the same way. If CCRB is watching the cops do police work that they don't understand, they might think, oh my God, look what they're doing. Look how they're treating the public. Look what's going on here. And the reality is it's normal and necessary. Sometimes you have to tear things down before you build them up. So I thought it was a great thing on social media, and just talk about the stresses that mechanics have to go through when people watch them and stand over them doing their job. And yet police officers have to face this through so many layers of oversight and do it on a constant basis. And now the Civilian Complaint Review Board wants to watch their body camera in real time so that they can pick out and find things. That's a witch hunt. That's not what the body cameras were created for. The body cameras were created for accountability, supposedly, and transparency. And if there's a complaint, do an investigation after the fact. But to actually, for CCRB to watch it in real time, to me, that's not accountability. That's not surveillance. That's a CCRB surveilling the police department, looking and finding things. And yet Gerber, that's the best job that he could do to articulate why the CCRB should not have real-time body access. He should have said, the reality is, if you want me to give an explanation, I need an hour to speak, because there's so many layers and there's so much stuff to peel back and tell you why the CCRB should not have access. Because it's almost, rhetorically speaking and figuratively speaking, it's a CCRB having a sniper rifle towards the cops. This is absolutely terrible, and that's the best job that they could do. Clearly, they don't care.
Yeah, the other thing is, like, there's privacy issues when it comes to the police officers as well. There's a lot there, dude. There's a lot of HIPAA. There's a lot of just basic investigation rules that the CCRB shouldn't have it. He left all that out. He skimmed on it. I think, you know, To be fair, if I had to go testify in front of city council once a month, I probably wouldn't be on top of my game all the time either. You know what I mean? When you know you're going to get questions from Tiffany Caban and you got a public safety chair that can't even read. I mean, and he doesn't even know what he's reading. You know, like his people give him and he's like, oh, sir. And I'm like, it's brutal, dude. And I'm talking about you, Yusuf Salam, the Georgia resident, who doesn't live in New York City. But why do you need to live in New York City to be in city council, right? The Republicans don't, the Democrats don't, the mayor doesn't. So what does anybody else need to do it for? You know, so, but like, again, the language in the bill is so vague that there's nothing there because, again, the CCRB is not going to look through your body camera. They don't have the manpower to even handle the complaints. And even if they get 200 more investigators, they're still not going to be able to handle it. So they're never going to skim through your video. What they're going to use is AI, and they already have this planned out. They're going to use AI to pick out the videos, and they're going to use AI to generate these complaints. This is what this push is about, and you're going to hear it because Jonathan Darsh, who's the executive director of the CCRB, is going to lay out his case. And we're going to play a lot of video with that. And you're going to see that, like, there is an alternate reasoning as to what he's presenting. And that is the reasoning. There is not going to be a CCRB officer that's going to go through every body camera video all day long. Are they going to target certain police officers and do that? Yeah, 100% they are. That's without a doubt. But overall, they're going to take every body camera video and run that body camera video through AI. And that's going to generate complaints. And again, they can't handle what they have now. So it's just grasping for more power, for more straws, and it'll be a problem later that they don't have enough funding and they don't have enough manpower. And that's always going to be the issue. Here's Jonathan Darsh testifying on why the Civilian Complaint Review Board needs direct access to body cameras.
My name is Jonathan Darsh, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm the executive director of the New York City Civilian Complaint Review Board, testifying here today as our agency is currently without a chair or interim chair. I am grateful to have the opportunity to testify here and address this council. Specifically, I've been asked to speak about Intro 1451, direct access to body-worn camera footage. I want to begin by emphasizing that this issue is extremely important to the agency and to civilian oversight of police more broadly. Body-worn camera footage is a significant component of our investigative process. In both 2023 and 2024, the CCRB received over 6,000 hours of body-worn camera footage, and in 2025, we're on pace to match that mark. That footage has come in via thousands of individual requests, 2,076 so far in 2025. It's a lot of work, but it matters. Body-worn camera footage allows us to close cases on the merits at a higher rate. In 2025, to date, we've been able to render a determination in 80.75% of complaints where there is body-worn camera footage available to view. When we do not have this footage, that percentage drops to 53.71%. The CCRB has long advocated for the agency to have direct access to body-worn camera footage, including during our most recent testimony to this committee in September. The most important benefit of direct access is that it would strengthen the democratic legitimacy of our investigative process. The CCRB is a civilian-led police oversight agency, the largest in the country. When New Yorkers come to us with a complaint regarding potential NYPD misconduct, they know that we are civilians just like them and that we are not beholden to the NYPD. That matters. That civilian-led independence was baked into our identity by Mayor David Dinkins and this council when it voted to restructure our agency in 1993. Since then, we've been guided by the principles of independence and impartiality. But when our investigators request body-worn camera footage from the NYPD, it is procedurally necessary for the NYPD to enter the investigative process. This tests our independence. The NYPD must review the raw footage and make a decision on how best to fulfill the CCRB investigators' request. In some instances, the NYPD may be unable to find footage matching a particular date, time, or location. Even when these decisions are correct, or made in good faith. It undermines the CCRB's independence to rely on the NYPD to make those decisions. Having direct access to body-worn camera footage eliminates this disconnect. It means that, from beginning to end, the CCRB is managing its own investigative procedures. It means that all decisions made in an investigation are being made by civilians, not the NYPD. This matters. This bill is a positive step, and the CCRB has been clear about the profound impact direct access to body-worn camera footage would have on our work. We appreciate this council's willingness to act on the issue. While the CCRB is excited about the prospect of obtaining direct access to body-worn camera footage, I want to note that to fully realize the benefits of the bill, we will require resources and an exemption from the New York State's sealing statutes. But with this bill, the council is showing a commitment to the ideals of civilian oversight, and it is doing so at a moment when civilian oversight itself is in desperate need of this type of public support. This matters. I thank you for that commitment, and I look forward to answering your question.
So what he says there is that, they get everything in a timely manner, and, they basically get everything, but sometimes there's mistakes made. And while, those mistakes, they might not be intentional, but they could be deemed as intentional. So therefore, they need this authority, even though they don't have the staff to do it. And legally, they can't go through these videos. That's what he said.
You Mike.
Yeah. How come the CCRB doesn't, they're not as critical as we are of the disjointed disciplinary process in the NYPD that protects the upper echelon and their Nepo babies, whereas the guys on the, in the precincts really, this really affects, one of the things that when I was in a precinct, I was on level 1 CCRB monitoring, and when that happened, I was really worried that this was going to impact me getting transferred to, going to narco or going to intel. And the thing is, if you're one of the Nepo babies, that doesn't make a difference, nothing makes a difference, and you don't hear the CCRB talking that up, I'm gonna say also that John mentioned about the privacy before. Now, privacy, I said this. I don't know who exactly it has like the final control over, who has the key to turn on live camera footage. But I can tell you this: when I was, I mentioned this story before. When I was a cadet, I was a cadet in ITB or MISD, it was called then. And I remember being in the office with one of the techs in the computer, and he goes, "Come over here, come over here." And then on his computer, this dude was watching porn on his department computer in 1PP. He was a civilian. When I saw that, I was like, I gotta get the F out of this unit, Later on, luckily enough, I was able to go to real-time crime and out of that unit. But my point is that privacy is a very big concern, because the civilian techs in that don't have the same scrutiny as the cops or uniformed personnel. And especially you female officers, you should be very wary of this, because I can almost guarantee you that the techs who have access to that live footage are absolutely, the perverts in 1PP are absolutely watching you on that live camera. Okay. And that's something that's not being talked about. And that will be an even bigger issue if CCRB gets to also view that live footage, because again, they don't have that same level of scrutiny that you do as a uniformed personnel.
Yeah, like I said before, these guys are all a bunch of hypocrites, and what he's saying is they want access to things that they can't even view at the time, so they want total control. You want total control, and meanwhile, these other guys are sealed records. They only matter in internal investigations, but then they want to follow rules with everything else. So these guys are all a bunch of hypocrites. The bottom line is there's people that really do bad things, but of course they're not going to be held accountable because they know people. So those cases don't go anywhere. This is basically for, people that are not attached to anyone important. And, if they want to destroy someone's life, they'll hand over a file and go, yeah, you hammer this guy. But the real bad people, they're never going to be held accountable and then they're going to make a decision and Tish will let them off the hook. The one out of 100 cases he had, she'll let the one bad seed off the hook. It's been like this forever. These guys want total control. They never really had it. They want it. They're probably going to get close to it with this guy because this is one of his promises. But I don't see how you're going to give them all this access to all this stuff. They can't even look at the stuff in real time. They don't have enough people to do it. And this guy's admitting it. So what is the purpose of it other than these guys are dog whistling to their little base? They have a crazy DSA base, like I said, a radical. So if it can't be done, then you shouldn't be asking for it. That's all I'm saying. At least don't be a freaking hypocrite.
I just want to say, because I had put out a post about this. I'm with the chat on this one. Many of my friends and listeners on the chat here saying, I can't listen to this guy either. And it tells you what is going on in CCRB, what CCRB is like, not just with the executive, with Jonathan Darsh, who is a former executive director. No, I'm sorry, he's actually the executive director, but he was once the chair of CCRB. But as the executive director, who's in leadership of CCRB, when someone starts the conversation with his pronouns, I can't take him seriously for the rest of the conversation. And I tell you what, it's leading to political theater because it's virtual signaling. It's not about fact. It's not about what's important. It's about virtual signaling. That's why he starts out with his pronouns. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a matter of time that the NYPD will be wearing ball gags and expected to actually give their pronouns also. We'll have police officers responding, say, hey, how you doing? I'm Officer Dim. My pronouns are he and him. And that's coming to a theater near you. It's coming to a precinct near you. It's only a matter of time. But it's virtual signaling. It's optics over fact and importance. And that's the problem with CCRB. That's your executive director. That's the leadership of the CCRB. That tells you what the investigations are like, what the investigators are like. This is not about accountability or transparency. It's about exactly what Sal said. It's full control. It's about surveilling. It's where the CCRB will surveil them. And obviously, they don't have the manpower. And even if they did have the manpower, it's virtually impossible to watch all body camera footage in real time and they make an assessment. So not only will AI be utilized to surveil real-time body cam footage, it's only a matter of time. And if not, maybe they're doing it already. They're going to use AI to do the investigations. And that it will be completely subjective because the CCRB is going to program it to what determination should be made based on what's important for the CCRB. So this is completely subjective. Why are we not hearing this from Gerber? Why are we not hearing this from the police commissioner or the unions? Why? Because the reason why Jessica Tisch is going to stay on board is because she's going with the full line. Like John told you, 99.9% of the time, she doesn't deviate from CCRB. So it doesn't make a difference if CCRB has the final say or not. She coincides and agrees with CCRB and is going to do and pander to what Zohran Mamdani wants, just as we've seen before with Eric Adams. What's the best prediction of the future? It's a reflection of the past. Jessica Tisch told you Eric Adams is fantastic. Crime is down. Lied to you on July 4th that there were no crimes. And in the wee hours of July 4th, we had a body. Someone lost their lives. So she's going to do the same thing under Zohran Mamdani. It's exactly the same template. Nothing is changing. It's business as usual.
You know, Eric, before you said something, and it's just so people understand it's not being feasible. There's at least in reality over 20,000 cops right now, right? Active, we'll say, or 25,000 are in the street. And a percentage of those that would be having a live body camera on, right? If you were to monitor all of those cops, how many employees do you need? Because you need one person per camera, right? Because you're not going to have one guy looking at 5 because 10 different things are going on. How is that even feasible to do it? And you see, it goes back to what you're saying. You don't have the personnel to even pull this off, but yet they want the access because they want to grab. But it's not feasible.
Yeah, Eric brings up a great point about the subjectiveness of the AI. And when we come around again, I'll explain it. And it's as dark as you might think. And that algorithm it will absolutely be subjective in its programming.
Well, I mean, AI is subjective already. It's 100% biased. I mean, you go on ChatGPT right now and try to push right-wing talking points versus left-wing talking points, or just try to go against whatever you're being told in the mainstream media. AI will not differentiate it. I've proved ChatGPT, I've proved X's one, and I've proved Microsoft is 100% biased. So, like, if they're looking to find something, and what they're going to do is say, all right, I want to find every bad interaction by a police officer in this video. I want to generate complaints from the civilian that are unacceptable for police officers to do. And that's going to be a total, it's going to be basically a review from a left-wing panel of anti-police advocates. That's who's going to generate what's wrong in policing. You're not going to get cops there that are going to sit there and be like, well, this was actually appropriate, this wasn't appropriate. It's going to be people who don't know anything about policing. AI is 100% biased, and that's what they're going to utilize, because he's telling you over and over again they don't have the manpower. And even when they get the manpower, they'll still the manpower to be able to do that, the New York City Police Department doesn't have it. So CCRB is never getting that manpower. So it's never going to be a civilian sitting there. It's going to be ran through AI programs. And again, the bill leaves it open so that it's completely vague, and they could do that. So here's the public safety chair reading the questions that were prepared for him. He's like borderline illiterate, wants to sound smart, wants to sound good. So he's reading all of the prepared questions that he has. He doesn't understand even what's happening at this meeting. And John Darsh is going to answer his questions. Let's tune in on this.
Investigations that request body-worn camera footage, how many experience delays, and what is the average duration of those delays?
So the average time to receive a response is 8 days. As long as the CCRB has been requesting body-worn camera footage, there are approximately 1,000 complaints that involved footage where we needed redactions. And those complaints, it can take much longer than 8 days, sometime in excess of 100 days or 200 days to get the redacted materials. But again, that's a small number of complaints compared to the larger universe that we have. They're generally, you had mentioned workflow. Do you mind if I expand upon that a little?
So just like, if you listen to what he said there, very rarely is it ever a problem. I created this entire system. They get it within 7 days. If it needs to be redacted, they get it within under 30 days. 1 or 2 videos he's saying he's had a problem with. Okay. Like there's no problem.
When we make a request, our investigator sends it to our document request specialist. The document request specialist sends the request to NYPD Legal. NYPD Legal has a staff member assigned to them that conducts the search. And if NYPD Legal determines that there are sealed materials in the footage, then they ask us for a waiver. Now, we, as often as possible, get waivers proactively from people when they file complaints with us. But the nature of body-worn camera footage and the sealing statutes makes that difficult, because one person may file a complaint with us, but body-worn camera footage may have multiple people in it who have cases that are involved or have reason for that footage to be sealed. It's not just the Criminal Procedure Law and the Family Court Act. It's also Civil Rights Law 50B, which protects victims of sexual assault. And so if you have people in the picture who might not have been arrested, so you don't even know who they are, it becomes difficult to ascertain how to get a waiver from them. So the next step is then to ask the department to redact the footage. And it's interesting because this didn't start from the NYPD. This process started because of the law department actually made a determination that they felt body-worn camera footage was akin to an arrest record. I actually think that, and there have been courts that have gone both ways. I think body-worn camera footage, the city's position should be that body-worn camera footage is like a 911 call. I understand that there are privacy advocates who are against that, but I think that these materials aren't sealed. As Deputy Commissioner Gerber said, when the sealing statutes were enacted back in the 1970s, they were envisioned as a document related to a particular case, and then that document would be sealed. We have somehow let that expand, that concept expand, so now that there are certain videos where a portion may be sealed and a portion might not be sealed, it's just not what the statutes were intended to regulate. And I think that we would be better off to view these things as akin to a 911 call, and that they are not sealed at all under the sealing statutes. But as long as we are going to view them as sealed, then the CCRB needs to be exempt from the sealing statutes.
First of all, most stuff, the same rules apply in a 911 call where they need to redact and they need to pull stuff out. So that's, I just think he's confused on that point. But what he's trying to say is that, well, body cameras should be exempt from paperwork, which is insane because the paperwork is just a result of protecting information. So it doesn't matter if it's on a piece of paper, doesn't matter if it's in a video, doesn't matter if it's on a 911 call, doesn't matter if it's in an audio recording. Information needs to be protected. So this is a ridiculous argument here. They're just grabbing at straws as to the reason why they need it, but he never really tells you, because he tells you right off the bat, they basically get everything right away anyway. Right? So what do you need the unfettered access for? What do you need the stuff that's sealed for? What do you need to know the identities of the individuals? Why do you need to see those individuals that you shouldn't be seeing? Right? Because you're violating the law. He's telling you, oh, just don't worry about it. We don't need that. You know, the way the law is written, it's for paper. It's not for information. And it's like, no, it's there to protect information.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what you're seeing is none of them care about the actual law. Okay. You know, Tiffany Caban, her argument prior with her back and forth with Gerber before this is that you guys are already violating state law, so it shouldn't really matter, you know. And as we talked about, Gerber didn't care about the law before, because if he was if he did, the mandate wouldn't, he would have spoke up about the mandate, right? And here we're seeing this guy doesn't care about the law either. Okay, it only matters when it's convenient to the agenda. And that should terrify everybody that, these people in these positions just really don't care. But if I can about that algorithmic programming, I said in the chat, right? If you use Uber, you use Amazon, you notice that, especially I've noticed it personally in Amazon, that it depends on where you are to get certain deals, So we might be in two different places, but you'll get that 30% off while I won't. And that's all by algorithm. And we don't know what metrics the algorithm uses. Same thing in Uber. Now, there's a video I'm going to post the link to in the chat before we close out this episode. But it's from a guy named Greg Reese who puts up great videos on Twitter. And you should watch them to understand what they're trying to do with AI and all of that. Right. But the video is about that algorithmic programming and how they use personal data that's unrelated to, the app, to create to define their prices. Now, this is especially dangerous because they're going to use it when it comes to this. So if you're part of, if CCRB thinks that you're a problem, if they think you're an alpha male, and especially if they think you're a white male, you are absolutely going to get a different algorithmic programming than say an ethnicity that the city is now trying to say that they're trying to target in terms of boosting their numbers in the police department. The algorithm is going to be tuned to adjust to whichever whatever the agenda is of the day. So if the department says, okay, we need more trans cops, you think the trans cops are going to get scrutinized like you will? No way. And the what's even more draconian about this is that you're not going to know. So the other officers getting scrutinized at a different level you are, but how will either one of you know that you're being scrutinized differently? You're not. Not unless the guys programming the algorithm actually tell you that's happening. Okay, it's gonna be like it's gonna be like no one's gonna be able to know the inequities being managed by the algorithm. Okay, and no one's gonna be accountable for those inequities. Okay, so this is all like a very, very dangerous road that we're headed, and this, by the way, is all technocracy, and which is why they think they could manage different parts of society using AI.
This is perfect for the police commissioner they have, the soccer mom. She's the
bingo
technologically surveillance state. She's the queen of that. So this falls into play with keeping her as a police commissioner because she's the de facto head of CCRB in the end. What he said was insane. Because my big thing with the body camera thing was always, well, if you really want to get back to all that stuff, if you have your camera rolling as you walk by people, all those faces are now on the camera. Now you could start doing your little digital imprint. Because I don't know why this guy wants those faces unredacted that have nothing to do with anything. You could be walking by people as, you're dealing with a situation. This guy wants all of that in there. And he thinks that 911, like you said, when you look at, if you get a sprint of a 911, all the callers, you think those numbers are not redacted when CCOB gets them? Because the wrong people, what if they, you got to worry about people's privacies. You got nut jobs out there, but they're all for that. This is what I'm saying. These people in there, these are all the radicals in that base that just, they claim they're for people, but all they want is power. The more, the merrier. And they just want to play God. So that's essentially what this guy's trying to do. And she is the soccer mom. She's the queen of the surveillance state. In fact, I got to find an article with the camera that's been facing, it's like an Argus camera or something. It's been facing someone's apartment for years. So they've been videotaping this guy for years. Even if he has his shades on, they never moved his camera. She's the godmother of that. She loves that stuff. So that's what CCRB is going to do. I can't believe this guy's saying, "Oh, leave everything in there." Well, leave your phone number in. I hope he's never in an incident or on camera somewhere, because then he's going to say, "Oh, well, you can't do that to me. We have rights."
And you know what the irony to this is? The irony is that Jonathan Darch, who's the executive director of Civilian Complaint Review Board, has been the subject of numerous allegations himself at the CCRB. And these are just allegations. I don't know if they were ever proven, but I think they're unsubstantiated. I think the CCRB likes to use that word, unsubstantiated. It means cannot prove or disprove. But he's had allegations against him for inappropriate conduct, inappropriate remarks, and apparently allegations of inappropriate touching. As I said, I don't know how they played out. These are just allegations, just rumors. But there have been complaints against him in the past. And yet he's the one who's talking about police officers doing the right job. And it's ironic also. The only thing I could say to Gerber, when I agree with what John's saying, the New York City violates the law with sanctuary city laws, which is a violation of federal law. But now this fits it. But yes, at the same token, the CCRB wants to monitor the law, and that's the law enforcement professionals, by breaking the law. So it's ironic that everyone breaks the law or violates the law or follows the law when it's convenient. It wasn't convenient with the COVID mandate, but now it's convenient. So they manipulate, and I say they, the leadership of the NYPD and also the CCRB and City Council manipulate laws and policies to fit their agenda. And that ultimately is what this is about. And I have to agree with Marlon. I think that ultimately the NYPD wants this also, because if they didn't, they would put up much of a better fight. There's so much ammunition why this falls flat on its face. There's so many flashpoints of why this doesn't work. And for one, I think, Marlon, I think you nailed it when it comes to the subjectiveness of the AI, especially when we talk about CCRB expanding their purview. And John and I have done numerous podcasts and episodes, and we've actually testified to the city council in opposition to how they treat and how they investigate racial or bias-based policing. And with AI, absolutely, if you're a white alpha male, you're sure as shit that algorithm is going to be much more different for you as a white alpha male doing police work than a black police officer or a female police officer. It's going to be far different algorithm, especially when it comes to racial and bias-based policing. I think there's going to be a completely different algorithm for a white police officer versus someone who maybe was black or brown. So this is not fair. It's completely subjective. It's about control, and it's about ultimately surveillance. It's the CCRB surveilling the NYPD. This hurts everyday police officers. It hurts their mental apparatus, and ultimately it translates and hurts public safety. So Jonathan Darsh, this low testosterone, he, him pronouns loser, is the one that's actually hurting public safety. He told you. He told you here that, 8 days, I think 8 days is pretty reasonable. When you have 18 months to conduct an investigation, and most of these CCRB cases could be completed in several weeks, and yet the CCRB is just inadequate and fails every time when it comes to investigations. 8 days receiving body camera footage is pretty damn good. And in this case, he said 1 or 2 times there was an issue. There's always going to be a margin of error in any organization or anytime there's paperwork or documentation. So in 1 or 2 cases, there was an issue. I think that's pretty damn good.
So here's a minority leader, Joanne Ariola. Listen to what she says to him. She has his number right away. Listen to this.
We must empower CCRB to enact its own disciplinary recommendations and ensure they have funding and staff necessary to complete all investigations for misconduct under their jurisdiction. So in further clarification of this bill, I would just like to know that if the CCRB has total access to police-worn body cameras where they can set up a team to review the body camera footage, as a result, could they, if it goes over the time allowable, could the CCRB still generate their own complaint against police officers without any complaint being lodged?
Councilmember Ariola, I think I understand the question, but if you could clarify the portion about is the concern that the CCRB will
Correct.
or is it a timing issue? Which is
so
the
if it goes
concern?
over the statute of limitations time, when you have the opportunity to review their body-worn footage from their camera, can the CCRB still lodge a complaint on their own against that officer?
So
under this bill.
So I just want to say, before I give the short answer to your question, I'm going to reverse this. Normally I do short and then long.
Okay.
But the long part first is the CCRB does not have enough resources right now to currently investigate all of the complaints we get. The CCRB has had the power since the last charter revision and the rules that were passed to implement the charter revision to initiate its own complaints. We have not done so in a single case because we are already drowning with the number of complaints we are getting and the resources we have to investigate them. So I understand your concern, and the short answer is yes, we could, but A, we just don't have the capacity to do that, and B, we are not in the habit of it is unlikely that we would find misconduct that was in body-worn camera footage that had not been explained, had not been discovered previously, that was exempt from the statute of limitations. So I understand the concern. It is theoretically possible under the language of this bill, but it is just not a realistic concern.
So before we go further in this video, I mean, I think that's a real point that she highlights there. She asks him, now let's say the case goes past the statute of limitations, the 18 months. What she asks him is, well, now you have unfettered access to these body cameras, and now that you could self-generate complaints, well, who's to say you can't go backwards on a guy you were looking at and look at the complaint and say, oh, look what we found here, and now you self-generate a complaint as of the day you found it. And he starts to stutter because according to that bill, that's exactly what they could do. And he says, oh, but don't worry. Don't worry about it, though, because, you know, we don't have the staff to do that. And we probably wouldn't do it, but it's possible. So basically, not only does this bill give them unfettered access, it actually throws out the statute of limitations as to when a case could go forward on NYPD cops. So now let's say you are a target of the NYPD, you are a target of the CCRB. Maybe that's when they run you through the algorithm a couple of more times, and then they go in and they assign someone and say, I want you to go through every single one of these videos, and I want you to find whatever complaints that are in here. And now, guess what? The clock starts all over again for you every time the CCRB notices something.
Yeah. And who's to say they can't, that algorithm won't be targeting you from now on, you know, won't be heavily scrutinizing you, you know?
Yeah, because you could push it to target certain criteria.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy. I mean, do advertising, you could target certain areas, right? You could target certain, like, that's exactly what could be done. And like, again, we don't know what that algorithm is. Let's say it's the algorithm's friendly and the algorithm's fair for everybody, which we all know it won't be. And it's not biased, but obviously humans are biased. So of course the algorithm is going to be biased, but we're throwing out the statute of limitations as well, which is insane to me.
Well, even further, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off, Marlon, but this is extremely relevant. I was the subject of CCRB's own algorithm even before AI was utilized. They weaponized it. How they did it was, and I was actually told by the attorneys, and even Lou Turco can attest to this, when I was a subject of numerous CCRBs, when I went down for an investigation, I was told the CCRB had generated their own algorithm and said, well, I'm a special operations lieutenant. I was lieutenant special assignment. I've been doing plainclothes almost my entire career, doing anti-crime work. They created their own aggravating facts, and because they already built up all these CCRBs against me, in a case where myself and several other officers and lieutenants were involved in a case, got substantiated complaints, other police officers and those lieutenants received a command discipline, which is just, you know, if anyone's outside the police department, where it's just basically in-house discipline, and where I received charges because they built their own algorithm and created aggravating factors. So for the same case, I received charges where someone else got a command discipline. So they do create their own algorithms. So there's no doubt about it that AI will go even further.
Watching that, this guy clearly, they say they don't have the staff for it, which is what all this stuff is going to be. They're going to have the staff for it. That's what all the funding is going to be. I mean, you heard Mamdani say it. I'm going to fully fund CCRB. So they're just going to fund this whole thing, and then it's going to be witch hunt city. It's show me the man, I'll show you the crime. And you're saying CCRB could target you. What's stopping, you know, the future disgraceful chief to say, I don't like Joe, make sure you get something? Because they're all in cahoots together, because the chief, you know, the 3 stars and above, you can CCRB them all day. Nothing happens to them. We've already seen that. So this thing is going to get weaponized against police officers and those who are not connected. Really, the ones who aren't connected are going to get destroyed here. But he's going to fully fund this. So he's refusing to answer. What he really is going to say is, yes, we're going to weaponize this against anyone. He doesn't want to say that because then Joanne's going to go nuts and say, we can't fund this. We're not going to sign off on this. But again, ultimately, there's like 40-something radicals on this city council. So I see this passing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sal brings up a great example, by the way, because, that could very well happen. Because earlier this week, Sal mentioned the case involving Tim McPherson's, Pearson's, his case, right? And how a phone call was made to medical division for psychological exam of one of the cops, And in my case, I've told you how, like, when I asked Kufo, Dr. Joseph Kufo of medical division about the scandemic, about the vax and how it wasn't approved, a couple of days later, he called Chief Galati of Intel and then told him, I was being discourteous, right? So what's stopping some chief from making a phone call to CCB and be like, you should watch this guy, I think we need to scrutinize this guy a little bit more, and then next thing you know, the algo is programmed to look at you a little bit more, to scrutinize every aspect of you and to make sure they find something about you. Because, I can tell you at one point I was going into CCRB for search warrants, right? Search warrants. And I remember one of the investigators, one of these 20-year-olds who just got out of college, no life experience. He asked me about ESU pointing the firearm at people when they enter when they hit the door. And I remember asking him, I'm like, he asked me if I pointed a gun at him, at anybody. I'm like, is that one of the allegations here? Because I don't see it on here, So what are you creating your own? You're making up your own allegations now. What's this about? So the point is, they'll look for something to get you on, okay, and that's a problem.
But also, you just alluded to something. Here's the best part to make. If I'm a chief or I'm a deputy commissioner or whatever, I'm overseeing. I don't like Officer Joe, right? I can't be the one to say something because then all my cops are going to say, oh, he's a good guy. Yeah, I'm not a good guy if my name is on it. So I call my friend in CCOB and he do the dirty work for me. This thing can be weaponized in so many ways and people don't even realize it. Because remember, there's so many nice guys on the job and yet they do dirty things like this because they don't like people. But you won't know about it because this clown will be the one coming after you as a cop and starting a witch hunt. So you're right, Marlon.
Yeah, so let's finish this part with Joanne Ariola. Then I just got a couple more parts on this guy. It's I know the CCRB hearings and the Civilian Complaint Review Board and the City Council hearings are tedious and they're like watching paint dry. But this is where all the damage gets done. This is where New York City goes down the toilet. It's here. This is where it is, directly here in City Council. We talk about the mayor, but like the mayor is basically just the cheerleader for the city. City Council really controls the wheel. They control the wheel. They got the gas pedal. They got the brake. And what this City Council is doing is it continues to keep the gas pedal on the New York to bring down the New York City Police Department and to really oversee this complete change of New York City and public safety and the New York City Police Department. Because you could clearly see here that John Darsh is struggling to even make a case as to why he needs this. And yet I have no doubt in my mind, and I don't think any of you have any doubt in your mind, that this is going to pass. So, that's the real problem here is like common sense is out the window. Facts, logic, law, rules, data, none of it matters. It's all about ideology and politics. Here's let's finish up this one segment. I got two more segments with Darsh.
So just in addition, from your testimony, what I'm really hearing is that it's not a matter of not getting the information in a timely fashion or it being 8 days late. What it really is that you don't have the funding or the staffing to get through the maybe thousands of camera footage thousands of footage, hours of footage that you need to get through in order to make a determination within the statute of limitations because you lack the staffing and funding to do so.
That is all true, but I also think there is a value in the independent nature of the agency saying that we do not have to go through the department to get access to our evidence. And I understand it is inevitable that there is some interaction between the department and the CCRB. There has to be. But, and I think there are going to be times where a CCRB investigator misses something that the NYPD searcher would have missed as well, right? Like, I'm not guaranteeing that there will be no errors in finding footage because a CCRB person is doing it rather than an NYPD person. But the potential for narrative of a conspiracy where, because footage wasn't found during the initial search by the department, do you mind if I finish? That there was that it wasn't that it wasn't found, but there was a deliberate failure to give us that footage. That is a poisonous environment and a poisonous thought that grows, and we can drain that swamp by giving the CCRB direction.
So we don't even have to listen to the end of that. Like, basically what he's saying is she calls him out, right? She nails exactly what it is. She goes, you don't even have a problem getting the footage. Like, what's this about? Like, what do we need to do this for? And like, what are we got to change laws? Why do we got to do all this stuff? Like, what you just need more staff. Like, you're an incompetent, inept agency. And he's like, yeah, no, that's true. But we want to dispel conspiracy theories too. That's his case. We want to dispel conspiracy theories. That's what he just laid out here. Like, basically saying, oh, wow, yeah, shit, I really don't have an argument. And my real intentions, I can't really tell you here because you kind of got one of them, that we're going to circumvent due process, and we're going to circumvent statute of limitations, and we're going to circumvent privacy laws, and we're going to circumvent sealing orders, and we're going to circumvent all the law. And we're just going to basically self-generate complaints and target NYPD cops and find them guilty of things that, probably really isn't even a complaint because no one even complained about it. But we're going to find it, and we're going to be the arbiters of morality and what's true and who should be and who shouldn't be in the New York City Police Department. That's what he just told you right there.
Yeah. So if you guys are all watching this, you've heard us talk before about the whole robots and all this stuff and how they want robot cops and drones and all that. You can see them clearly laying the groundwork for that future hit, because under these algorithms and this level of scrutiny, the only people who could police are robots. Okay, you can't have humans policing, and that's going to take us down the road to a society of robots that police without human empathy and no humans involved. And that's like a dystopian science fiction movie.
Yeah, look, listening to this guy is like peeling paint off the wall, man. It's like, I can't believe it. Listen, look, they want, like I said, they want full control. They don't care how they get it. They know they can't fully watch all this stuff. They just want that access because they're going to crush certain people, because that's what they do. And you're going to have certain elements of the police department involved, upper echelon. I mean, they did it to Eric. I'm sure if you look back, somebody was calling on Eric to, hey, did you see this? Because that's what they do. And they're cowards. They're hiding in the background. And I see Juju in the chat. He won't address me. Juju, beyond the police department knowing you're on this, does the university you teach at know you're doing this? Because that would be an even bigger scandal, that you have a university professor on here that's also a New York City police lieutenant badgering people. Who's paying you to do this? Is the police department or your little circle of friends? I just want to know.
Aren't professors supposed to be non-biased too? There's a lot of bias and racism. What does he call Marlon all the time? What does he call Marlon all the time? or any other black
Oh,
guest that we have.
Token. He calls him Token. I've seen it. I mean,
No, not even just a token. What he calls him Clayton Bigsby.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And
That's
also
right, Clayton Bigsby.
Juju, well, Lieutenant, you also contributed money to this podcast and easily subpoenable. You're not that smart. I know you think you are. You think you're one of the most. I think you're supposed to be the smartest person in the police department. You have all this education. Guy, you wouldn't last 5 minutes in the street. He
still owes us money, Sal.
You be the token guy getting it where it belongs in the end, being used. You are, book smart doesn't mean you're actually smart. And there's always someone smarter than you. I can't believe Lieutenant Juju, who's a professor at a university, is on here every day doing this. And he contributed money, and I could easily go back and wire that back to Lieutenant. We're just going to keep that name blank right now.
Well, Juju and 1804 Banks, they still owe us money because, we put their comments up. They were supposed to give us $50, and they came up short. But that's all right. We won't forget. They're still the number one fans. With that being said, I think Jonathan Dosh did a terrible job trying to articulate why they need real-time body camera access. And I thought Joanna Ariola did a great job. It was Joanna Ariola. It was so subtle, but she pulled his card and she knew exactly that he's full of shit. The bottom line comes down to this. His only case that he tried to make was that basically the NYPD can't be trusted to actually retract and extract their own information, that the CCRB needs to impede and intercept because the NYPD can't be trusted. Basically, that's what he's saying. He's saying that they violate the legal department and they can't be trusted to actually give the information over to the CCRB. CCRB, on behalf of Jonathan Dosh, admits they're inadequate, admits they make mistakes, admits they don't have the manpower, admits there's really no necessity for it, that they get everything that he testified was that everything's pretty much running fine. We get the cameras within 8 days. We don't have the manpower to take on any more work that we already have, but we want it because we don't trust the NYPD because we just don't like the cops. That's the bottom line. That's what he's telling you. This guy with low testosterone, with he and him pronouns, who could never wear a police uniform, is sitting there and telling you that they don't trust the police department and they just don't like them. And that's exactly what they're going to do because they did it to me. They utilized the discipline matrix to create their own algorithm to target me. Yes. And with that being said, AI is going to do that even further. And AI is going to do the work for them. That's exactly what they're going to do. Put in white alpha male, lieutenant, or they'll put someone specific that they're targeting, and they will find you. If you look for something, you will find something extremely subjective. And he actually said in one of the testimonies that John put up there that they reverse engineer the cases because he even said, let me give you the short and long-term version. Let me go backwards on this. And that's exactly how they do their cases. They find guilt and then they go backwards from it. And that's why these cases take so long. The CCRB is an organization that can't be trusted because they're inadequate. They have a full bias and disdain for policing. And unfortunately, this will pass. This will pass. It wouldn't be proposed if it wouldn't. And this is going to pass, and CCRB is going to have further depth in targeting police officers and removing intrusive police work and going to exactly what Marlon and I have been telling you, AI and robotics. You're going to have robotic police officers. You're going to respond. It's going to be Lieutenant Dim working with Robot 6 for the day. Robot 6 is driving. Robot 6 is programmed how these jobs will be handled. All the reports will be generated, and the robot will be taking the cop for a ride.
Mm-hmm. He's just worried about conspiracy theories. That's what you guys aren't getting. We got to do all this. We have to waste hundreds of thousands of dollars, change laws because we just want to dispel conspiracy theories. That's all it is. And you guys don't trust them. And look, I'll be the first one to say, I know John Dosh. I know him a long time. And I'll be the first to say I think that he's a nice guy. But he definitely has a disdain for the police. And you're going to hear here where he talks about the Wayne Isaacs case. And when he starts to talk, I already knew where he was going because myself and Eric had testified about the Treywa Kowalski case. And Eric had testified. And immediately after Eric's testimony, Darsh almost gave like a very similar speech in a very similar tone. So as soon as he got here, I was like, oh my God. I was like, that was very reminiscent. And it's crazy to watch, man, because, you know, police officers are expected to be perfect. They're expected to be perfect in these situations where their adrenaline is dumped, and it's just complete insanity. And the average person would more than likely have a nervous breakdown, need to go to the hospital, need to go lay down, whatever it would be. But it would be a very traumatic event for a human being. But police officers are expected to act perfectly, with a calm demeanor, professionally. And here you're going to watch the executive director of the CCRB. He's going to lay out the case of Officer Wayne Isaacs, and he can't even keep his composure. And this was an incident that happened in 2016, I believe, maybe even 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And he can't even keep his composure when he's talking about it. So these are the people that are judging who's a good officer, who deserves a civilian complaint, who shouldn't be an officer. Listen to the executive director, Jonathan Darsh, here on the case of Wayne Isaacs.
Gotcha. Can you tell us lastly about lastly about the Delron Small Officer Wayne Isaac case?
So Officer Isaacs shot Delron Small on July 14, 2016. In 2017, the New York State Attorney General's office tried police officer Isaacs for homicide, but police officer Isaacs was acquitted. The CCRB was informed by a prosecutor on the criminal case that police officer Isaacs claimed at trial he was motivated to shoot Mr. Small because police officer Isaacs did not want Mr. Small to take his department weapon. In May 2018, the family filed a complaint with the CCRB. In July 2020, the CCRB substantiated misconduct against police officer Isaacs. In October 2020, the CCRB, through its Administrative Prosecution Unit, filed charges against police officer Isaacs with the police department. Later that month, Police Commissioner Shea declined to retain the prosecution, and the department served charges on police officer Isaacs. In 2021, the city settled a lawsuit by Mr. Small's family. During the litigation, police officer Isaacs demanded the city insure him because he was acting within the scope of his employment as a police officer when he killed Mr. Small. And then a federal judge ruled in favor of police officer Isaacs, so the city had to pay the vast majority of the money that went to Mr. Small's family. In April 2022, Police Commissioner Sewell declined a request from police officer Isaacs to retain the prosecution and dismiss the charges against him. In September, Police Commissioner Tisch declined a request from police officer Isaacs to retain the prosecution and dismiss the charges against him. Courts have held that the CCRB, if it uses a reasonable process and follows CAPA, gets to define its jurisdiction within the charter. The police commissioner gets to decide who represents the department in disciplinary cases. 2 weeks after a third police commissioner decided to let the CCRB try the disciplinary case against police officer Isaacs, Deputy Commissioner Maldonado dismissed the case and took it off the trial calendar. She did that 2 weeks after a third police commissioner instructed that the CCRB try police officer Isaacs. She did that despite the fact that during the criminal trial, Isaacs claimed he shot Delron Small to keep Mr. Small from taking his service weapon, and she did that despite the fact that Isaacs demanded the city pay the family because he killed Mr. Small in the course of his duty as a police officer. I've been familiar with Commissioner Tisch since she was a deputy commissioner at the department. I have a lot of respect for Commissioner Tisch and her team. I'm confident she will reject this deeply flawed recommendation in order the trial to go forward.
Look, he throws the paper off to the side. So, I mean, think about that. This was an incident that happened almost a decade ago. And the man was cleared criminally. He was cleared civilly. He was cleared. The city paid out the family. They always pay out the family. He was not found to have done anything criminally wrong. He wasn't found to be negligent as per the department. And yet, 2 years after this, the CCR brings a case. And now he's been under CCRB scrutiny for about 7 years. And Darsh is sitting there 7 years, 7 police commissioners. And Darsh is sitting there saying, well, you know, I'm confident Tisch is going to fire him. That's what he's saying. And unfortunately, I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's where this is headed, and it's disgraceful. And you could clearly hear his disdain for police and his bias towards incidents where he can't really see through the legality of what happened and the fact that this officer was already involved in several criminal investigations and cleared on all of them, as well as cleared administratively by the NYPD. But yet now here the CCRB wants to make a name for themselves, and they want to hang this officer.
Yeah. What a loser. Yeah. Yeah, and keep in mind that this guy is also facing there was retaliation allegations against him back in 2021. So man, this guy has cop derangement syndrome is what he has, and it's kind of also ridiculous that all these PCs kept dragging this on. This should have been over like years ago. Yeah.
Wayne Isaacs is full duty. So if he were to get terminated, he'd get the Sal Greco treatment of being full duty and being terminated full duty, which, I don't know how many people could say that. So if that's what they're going to do, and by the way, he has nothing on his record in this entire time. He's been an outstanding cop. He got cleared criminally. If we're going to go back to civil things, then John Shell should have been ostracized for killing someone, and the city paid out there. There was no discipline in that matter, right? When it should have been far more than just discipline. But, you don't want to compare apples to apples here. This guy something's mentally wrong with him. Seeing him sit there, I know you might know him, John. I think there's something wrong here. You could tell in the eyes. They never look you straight. They're always looking around, up, and that's somebody's something's going on there. This guy, there's something wrong with him. He shouldn't have any position in power, and again, but he's part of that DSA group. And this is what I told you about them, that they're a bunch of radicals. They have some kind of psychological issues, but then they get a little bit of power, and this is what becomes of that. This guy's taking this case personal, something 10 years ago, that there's no criminal wrongdoing. So what do you want to do? You want to beat him up because they've been talking about it in the lunchroom there at CCRB? We got to get this guy. We haven't gotten him yet. We got to get him. Come on. Bunch of children.
Well, John and I have seen this song and dance before. Again, as John told you earlier, we both testified to the city council. I'm sorry, not the city council, CCRB, at one of their monthly meetings. John and I attend often. And these monthly meetings, you can physically be present or you can do them virtually. And John and I both testified about the Trawick case. How do you say it? Trawick. Anyway, it's very difficult to say his name. The Trawick case. And I testified about the veracity that police officers have to deal with when they're in close proximity to someone in a home or an apartment when someone has a sharp-edged weapon. And unfortunately, the police officers have to use their firearms. And sometimes they shoot people to protect themselves and to protect others, and that's the reality. And he just went off. And you could see the complete bias and disdain. He took it so personal, and his demeanor, what you just saw right now, is exactly the same. It was the same tone, and took it completely personal. He has a full bias and disdain for policing. That's why I say this is a political agency. So when Sal, when you say it's the DSA, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it is.
It's not an investigative agency, because an actual investigative agency should remain neutral and not show any emotion. Right, that's the key to a professional, is not getting emotionally invested, even in a situation where there's life and death. Unfortunately, as an investigator, you need to be bipartisan, and you need to be completely neutral and not be emotionally invested. And he's so emotionally invested that there's no way, especially he's in leadership of the CCRB. There's no way these investigations can play out in a neutral manner when he has a full bias and disdain himself, and he's leading the investigators. So it's a major problem, CCRB. It's been a major problem for years, and it's only getting worse and worse. You cannot explain or articulate the necessities that CCRB reaches for, but yet he's still a political arm for the city council and for the DSA. It's a political agency, not investigative agency. So spot on. He's a disaster. I mean, look at him. Like I said, he's up and down in his weight. He removed his mustache. He's just a complete chameleon. There's something wrong. There's always something wrong. He has no understanding of police work. He just doesn't care. If you listen to what he said, he's actually telling you the police officer did everything right. The police officer was in a situation where the adversary tried to take his firearm. He was in a position he had to take action. It's unfortunate, but sometimes people get shot to save themselves or to save others. It's the reality of police work. It's the reality of the world, and it's ugly, but it's the truth. And he admits that the investigations found the police officer not guilty, that the police officer acted appropriate. He admits that. The one portion he's right about, and this is the part I agree, and we all agree, the failure is on the predecessors to Jessica Tisch. Every police commissioner did not take action and was not decisive in leadership. They were supposed to take action and dismiss those cases, but instead they passed the buck and kept passing the buck. So that's the only spot that he's right. And that's the failure to Wayne Isaac. And I see many people in the chat, including in Franco, said Wayne Isaacs is a great guy. And I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. He's still a police officer that's out there in full duty, but it doesn't matter because the CCRB doesn't care how the investigations play out because they have their own perspective and they have their lens that doesn't match up. And what did he tell you? He just foreshadowed, I have full respect for Jessica Tisch. I have full confidence that she'll be the police commissioner to make the decision, and she'll make the right decision. What's the right decision? The right decision is to collaborate with the CCRB and to terminate this police officer. So I fear for Wayne Isaacs. This case is almost a decade old. A decade old. Should we hold that against him? Do we hold it against Jonathan Darsh that he had inappropriate allegations against him in 2013? Should we still hold that against him? But yet, Wayne Isaacs, a police officer who's full duty at the NYPD, had a case almost a decade, and this case is still going on. That is not due process. That is not due process. That's an epic fail.
Mm-hmm. It's sick, dude. It's honestly sick. So last thing, I mean, I think, we show over and over again that the CCRB is an incompetent agency. They ask for things that they can never prove. And this is just the most perfect example of it. So in John Darsh's testimony, he says they need this law. They need this law to pass. Although even if it passes, they don't have the manpower to utilize this, right? But Zohran Mamdani, we clearly showed you, said he's going to fund them and give them the manpower, right? But there's one more problem. The other problem is they need the state law to change, and Jonathan Darsh acknowledges that. So here's Councilman Bob Holden, and he asks John Darsh about, well, did you lobby the state to change the law that we're here wasting our time and you're asking for this law? Listen to John Darsh, what he's got to say.
You ask for the resources, obviously. You haven't gotten them in the past. And exemption from New York State ceiling statutes. Is that ever done?
So there is a bill that the council sent a home rule resolution on to Albany in the last session that actually passed the Senate but did not get out of committee in the Assembly. So defer to your expertise as actual elected officials on whether it can get passed or not. But I think it's an essential bill for effective oversight of the NYPD by my agency.
And you've gone to Albany to talk about this.
No. Yeah. So maybe under the last administration, I might have been to Albany, but we do our lobbying generally has to go through New York City State Ledge. So we have not been asked.
So the answer is no. So he's going to get, they don't care because they're not going to follow the law. They don't care. Once the city passes it, they're not going to worry about the state law. He's obviously not concerned with it. He had the city council draft a bill that goes up through the assembly, and he hasn't even advocated for this because it's a joke. Total incompetent agency. If I was mayor of the city of New York, they'd be the first. I'll save the city $100 million right now because I'm disbanding the CCRB immediately.
Yeah. Isn't it curious how the mayor's silent in all this? Considering the influence he has, the oversized influence he has.
Who's the mayor, though? Seriously, at this moment in time, is Mamdani the mayor? Because I don't. Eric Adams has been checked out since he got cleared of his indictment. He has it. Who's really running the city?
Yeah.
It's not Eric Adams. He doesn't give two shits. And remember, he said he was going to stick those people in the rent control board, and he hasn't done it. And he was going to jam up Mamdani. He hasn't done anything. So we have no mayor right now. There's no mayor. There hasn't been a mayor in New York City in a year.
Yeah. And it's also good to remember that there was a coalition of NYPD unions that supported Eric Adams. So Eric Adams is now silent as this is happening, and the unions are also silent as this is happening. So thanks a lot, Scott. All the detectives appreciate your continued efforts in totally screwing up their lives.
Hey, Marlon, take it easy. He's got an open line. He gets to speak to him anytime he wants, Marlon. Come on. He called about you. Don't you remember? Can you hook up Marlon with a job? Who's Marlon? The guy on the West Coast? No, the one here. The one on the East Coast.
Again, he mentioned a thing about the state law. The NYPD itself violates this law. Okay, they violate the law, the sealed records law. They'll use them against you in their own internal investigations. So I don't know why it's such a big deal, because they're all a bunch of hypocrites. You're either going to follow the law, and if you break it, go to jail. So Jeremy Ornstein, Sergeant General, you should be in prison because you lie on things. You lied in court. You start all these witch hunts, open sealed records, but you're still there in internal affairs. So where is CCRB? Where's the DOI? What are you doing? Oh, you're too busy. You're too busy. You're probably having lunch with Kaz Daughtry, so you're too busy for that. So that's what's really at the heart of all of this. This is, like we've been telling you, business as usual. You voted for the status quo. Mamdani could care less. He threw his DSA guys a bone because the DSA runs CCRB. So this is going to go crazy. They're not going to follow the law. The NYPD doesn't follow the law. So what does it matter? The state law, sealed records. Don't worry about it. Let's run Roger Stone's record. I don't care. Oh, sealed records don't matter. Oh, wait. We're running a guy that runs a cafe, a cannoli place. We're going to do that, even though he has nothing to do with investigate. We're going to do it. I'm Jeremy Ornstein. I went to FBI Academy, and who tells me what to do? This is who you're dealing with, folks. So, if you take this job and you're in the New York City Police Department, if you're still there, you got to finish at your time. I would highly recommend that you go Port Authority, Nassau County, Suffolk County. Be a sheriff in a small town. If you're looking to be in law enforcement, avoid this mess at all costs, because it's a sinking ship. And I hope anyone is on this job still, finish your time and get out. If you find something that's better, like you could, if you have 5 years on, you could leave and go get another, go do it. Because the future here is not, it's only going to get worse. Because look at who you have in charge. It's the same thing over and over again.
Well, the bottom line is, Jonathan Dosh, Executive Director of CCRB, has told you that is personal to him and it's not neutral as an investigation or in charge of investigations as in leadership of the CCRB. How does he tell you that? Because he told you we don't have the manpower. And now a responsible investigator, if you don't have the manpower and the tools and the resources to do a proper investigation, you would do what's called prioritize. And you would prioritize the most important complaints and have your investigators take care of those complaints. And the ones that are not as important or of significance, you would say to the NYPD, we're going to kick these back to the NYPD if you can handle these cases, or we're just going to close these cases out because they're not substantial and we just don't have the manpower. But rather what they do is because they take it personal, they let these cases linger on and exceed the statute of limitations and never come out to a proper investigation. And what they do also is they'll exceed the statute of limitations, and even though they cannot impose any discipline anymore, they'll still make a determination and find someone guilty and substantiate a case. That I have a problem, and that still goes on your record. So if a case exceeds the statute of limitations, that's not due process. It will still be substantiated on your record, but they cannot dispose of discipline because it exceeded unless they could prove if it was in court and could be perceived as a crime, then it could extend the statute of limitations and still impose discipline. So the CCRB has so many different layers and angles to play with. The fact that they're trying to have more intrusion just shows how personal and biased it is. So I think this is an epic fail, and I agree with John. I believe in oversight. I believe in accountability, but I think the CCRB has shown time and time again it's an epic fail. And he talks about draining the swamp. If anyone's draining the swamp, it's the Civilian Complaint Review Board. They're draining the taxpayer dollars because they do not do proper investigations. If we had a guarantee, several trained NYPD investigators, they would knock these cases out in no time, and not with a bias in pro-police, because we already know Joe Fox is there. In most cases, he finds the police officers guilty, the big nice guy there. The NYPD detectives would wrap these cases up in no time. It's inadequate investigations, inadequate because it's done from a place of bias. It's not from a place of neutral investigations. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, it's insane. And Mo, I know you got something, but before you get on that, I just want to bring up one thing because I almost spit my coffee on the screen when I saw this. So, former chief of department who retired now 3 weeks ago, John Shell, right? So he just puts this out. Someone just sent this to me.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I hate to bring them up, but this one is just so ridiculous. It has to be brought up, and I'm 100% retweeting this. And I recommend that everybody get out there and comment on it and retweet it. Make this one go viral because this is absolutely ridiculous. So John Shell writes this. Everyone's busy talking about NYPD, PC, Jessica Tisch, and Zohran Mamdani, crime stats, and what a new administration might bring. But when are we going to talk about the health and wellness of the cops? The people who actually make the numbers possible. Morale is the real story right now. Long hours on foot posts, forced overtime, canceled days off. We all hear about it. But how bad is it really? And how do we measure the toll it's taking on their personal and professional quality of life? The PBA, the SBA, the LBA, the DEA, and the CEA know what's going on, and they're doing what they can behind the scenes. But the department needs to step up publicly. What's overdue is a real department-wide job survey, one that asks rank-and-file officers how they're actually doing. Honestly and anonymously. Identify what's working and what's not, and then take action. Crime is down because the men and the women of the NYPD pushed through the last 3 years. Now it's time to ask, at what cost? Let's find out and fix it. Remember, understaffed by thousands of cops. So this loser a few months ago went on the news and said that the department's in a good place, the locker room's in a good place, and morale is fine. Former deputy inspector of the NYPD, Kenneth Quick, who now works for a university, had actually done an anonymous survey asking these exact questions. And they did that department-wide. And what the department said was that, I forget the exact amount, but I believe that it was over 50% of the people that were surveyed. Most people didn't even take the survey because they're just so checked out, they don't even care. But I believe over that 50% of the people that took the survey said that they were ready to leave the NYPD as soon as they could. So this asshole was just the chief of department. He was directly responsible for the morale, and he did nothing. He said nothing. He advocated for nothing. And now here he is 3 weeks removed from that position, and he's talking about things that the Finest Unfiltered have been talking about for 3 years. Like, this deserves to go viral. He needs 1 million eyes on this, and he needs 1 million comments on this. This is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and remember we told you guys that John Chell was gonna be the controlled op, and he's gonna be out there to kind of like do his bidding for the establishment and to keep things as they are and keep you from speaking out against it and questioning things. And here he is telling you the unions are working for it behind the scenes. They're working on things, guys. Trust the plan. Trust the unions. Okay. You're out of line, Bethel, for speaking out against Scott Monroe. Okay. Now look, the thing is, like John said, 2 weeks ago, this guy was chief of department. And what did he do? What did he do to leave the department in a better place than it was when he got there? Nothing. So this is all BS, and he's hoping that you guys have the memory of a gnat, but again, John Chell, you should go trademark the unfinest filtered, okay? Because there's a market for you to be the dark, finest, and
the finest filtered, Marlon. Remember, crime is down.
Yeah,
because he had to throw that one in there. He couldn't break off of that lie. Crime is down, Sal. Don't worry.
Yeah, crime is down.
Everything's okay. Nothing to see here. The guy forgets that 3 weeks ago he was the chief of department responsible for the internal pressures of the NYPD. He said everything was fine. Nothing to see here. 3 weeks later, woo, man, can somebody help out? Yeah, couldn't that be you? I don't know. He must be sleeping under a bottle somewhere.
I would like someone to just ask him about Dana Ratchlin, about Lieutenant Epps. This guy covered up sex assault, sexual harassment if he's not involved in it himself. Why are we giving this guy a time of day? You're a pervert and you've done things. I want to know why you covered things up.
Cheat,
tax cheat, and you killed someone, and you authorize all this stuff to happen at CRT. There's a ton of guys that are in trouble, and this is what when Joel Ramirez is on, one of the things he's alluded to is that there's going to be people getting in trouble now, and it's all because of him. He led on that CRT team. He is the first, and I was talking to a deputy chief the other day, a retired one, who said, yeah, John Shell's rah, do this, and he's the first guy to throw anyone that he leads in the battle under a bus. It's well known in the police department. That's why the guy had no walkout. He had no walkout. And it's funny how he keeps trying to go back. And buddy, you're going to be getting something soon from me. You remember when you try to, demonize me online? I had a suit, and you're the leading, highest ranking person in the police department uniform going after me with a mega suit against the department. Yeah, that's you. And you're criminally associating with people too. So this guy should get this is all, between that idiot in the morning and John Catsimatidis. He's trying to be relevant. That's why he's on some board. He's on the board to hold Mamdani responsible. Who was holding him responsible when it was sex assaults and harassment all over the place with this guy? And his driver, by the way, how much overtime did he authorize that guy to take, right? Remember that guy? $400,000, and everybody made a big deal about Epps, but all these people on the shell were doing all kinds of things. Oh, well, let's not talk about that. No one talks to him about that because he's John Katz's like, we're going to make this guy big. That's what John Katz thinks, but this is ridiculous what he said. He's literally stealing everything from here and acting like it's him now. Oh, and everything is great. Even though he was the chief of department 2 seconds ago, he did nothing for the cops. In fact, the reason cops are leaving, the reason they're beat up is this guy who transferred people, who didn't salute his disgraceful friend, who's now a deputy mayor of public safety. I haven't seen him until the other day. You didn't salute the guy who transferred you. That's who this guy. That's the mark this guy left in the police department with no walkout.
So I got a point question before John goes. I'm just curious. Did you authorize Lieutenant Juju to take meal? Because I think he took meal. Did you authorize that?
Yeah, he might be at the university called. He's got to teach. He's got to go teach right now at the university.
Wow.
Sick stuff. Marlon, what would you want to talk about? I know you wanted to bring something up.
No, I brought it up in the discussion. I just put it out there so you guys know where I was headed with that. You know, basically it's about the Reese video, the Greg Reese video that I'm gonna still post in the link before we go chat. But again, you guys should watch it. And if a lot of the stuff that we talk about seems far-fetched and you can't like put it together, those videos kind of help to bring it down to like to put it in kind of language that everyone could understand, not just like someone who's into tech and all that stuff, So
what about the other news we didn't talk about, that Hassan Mo has changed his name officially to West Bank Mo? And he sends Sal espresso from Milan. He doesn't send, what's
look,
on it?
right here. He sent me this espresso.
He's trying to get promoted under Mamdani.
I will say he sent me olive oil. Good man right there. But he
He's a
should
good
be
man.
the man chatter. That's what it should be. The man chatter.
The man
You
We're
trying
gonna-
to get great on the Mamdani, Mo?
Yeah.
I think Mo might go investigate where Juju is. If he's either
He might become a
headed-
police commissioner.
Is Juju headed to work right now for his little unit where doing things he shouldn't be doing, or is he at the university spewing hatred to students? I don't know. Which one is it? Which one is he doing? I don't know.
I think
He's
Juju
quite
took me
silent.
out. I want to
He's
authorize that.
He's silent. He knows, you're right. Internal affairs may not do anything about you because you're all in cahoots, but that university might fire you and make an example because you're a racist and all other kinds of things you do. And you do have multiple X accounts, and don't worry, we have everything off of there. So one minute you spew things against the police department, but on the other end, on the other account, you're all pro police, and there's a picture of you too. So it's just amazing what kind of a human being you really are.
Sal, the
Juju-
chat needs a little hint about Juju though. They're
Yeah,
asking.
a little bit.
Just a little hint. Don't give too much, but like
A little hint.
a little.
I don't know. He's been very silent. When people are up against the wall, if you give away, you give away everything. Right now, he's not being antagonizing other people in the chat. He's not threatening other people. That's another thing you did. I know what you did. The problem was, Lieutenant, you know better. You don't harass and bother other people because you never know who they are. That's why you don't know the rules of the street. You know the books. You spent all this time in there because you think you're the smartest guy in the police department, but you're really a moron. You are the king of the low information, what you did. Because now other people were investigating you the whole time. And this is what happens. See, you have to be humble. You have to be humble in life and be very, very cautious of, you might think you're better. The strongest man in the world is not the strongest man in the world. Someone else is stronger than them. It's always going to be like that. That's the way life is.
Now,
You don't understand life.
Stay trained up. Says he'll give you $100 if you out Juju right now.
Yeah.
That's worth
That'll
way
be
more than
$100.
$100.
You know what?
Yeah.
Juju, we're not going to out you. You are our biggest fan. We don't like to hurt our fans. So thank you for being the number one fan. We're not going to out you. We like you here.
Just
You're
yet.
good.
Just yet.
Your time will come.
Anything else before we get out of here? We've been going 2 hours, 50 minutes about. Anything you guys want to talk about? Anybody?
Nah. Time to go.
We didn't touch on the reinstatement, the DCAS hearing, but I just want to say something quick.
There you go.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick. There's a lot of fired cops than I thought. I thought like I was one of the few left. I know there's a detective in I think maybe from the bomb squad or ESU who is also, but there's a lot more cops than I thought. But you guys who are fired cops, I mean, you guys can't stay silent on this. I mean, why are you remaining silent? Why are you playing ball with them? They already screwed you over. And if you think that you're going to come back on this job and you're just going to erase the last 4 years, then you're out of your mind, because there's no going back. Okay. They already you are already going to be a target one way or the other, because they know that you are non-compliant and they hate you for doing that. Okay, so why are you remaining silent? Why are you going along with this? Come on out, come on here, and let people know your story, and let everyone know that you were terminated as well. So we keep this in the mind of other cops who are still on the job, and who had to take this thing, and they're too, they're silent because they're afraid of retaliation or whatnot. Okay, stop playing ball with them. There's no going back to the pre-2021 world. It's just not happening.
No, yeah, I was super annoyed about that. I'm not gonna lie. I was like really annoyed when cops started coming on there. I reached out to a few of them. I've been in contact with them, but I'm like, where the hell have you been for 3 years? And I get people working, I get people taking care of their family. I've been doing the same thing, man. I've been doing the same thing. I totally get it. I got to put food on the table too. I don't got much more money than anybody else. I came from nothing like most of you. So I'm like, it annoyed me, man. It really did, because like the things that have been happening, it's because they believe that people like us don't exist, and we've allowed the media to shut us out and not tell our stories and not talk about all the damage that Eric Adams caused. And so now he's trying to pull back on that legacy, and now people want to wake up, and it's honestly disgusting. I know a couple of you in the chat are saying, "Oh, we should talk about the Epstein files." I think we did, dude. I think we brought that up a few episodes back. But I mean, if you guys got a couple of minutes, I mean, let's just go around about it real quick. I mean, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino built platforms for years saying they were going to release the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, that was a big thing for people. Like I said, I wasn't one for me. It wasn't one for this platform. I never really listened to Kash Patel or Dan Bongino. I always thought they were kind of full of crap, to be honest with you. So I never really listened. I didn't realize how full of crap they were. I just thought, oh, my sources. I thought they were full of crap when they were talking about stuff like that. I didn't think they were full of crap about their morals and their ethics, and that we've come to realize that they are. So immediately upon them getting in, people start calling for the release of the Epstein files. What happens? Trump does a meeting. He has that loser Benny Johnson, the other idiot DC Drano, and a bunch of other paid pretend independent social media influencers, right? And he brings them all there, and they give him this file. And so now everyone thinks the Epstein files are released. And it was like, no, these were the stuff that the government released a long time ago, and actually wasn't anything. Pam Bondi then comes out and says that she can't get the Epstein files, but she has sources within the DOJ that are going to help her get them. So, like, she's not in charge of the DOJ, and she can't fire anybody at will. So, but she has sources inside of the DOJ. Then she comes out and says that there's thousands of hours of video, and they're horrific, and they're on her desk, and the files are on her desk for release. Then she comes out and says there's no files. Then Dan Bongino and Kash Patel come out and say nothing happened and nobody was sex trafficked, yet Ghislaine Maxwell's in jail. Then Donald Trump comes out and says, if you ask about the Epstein files, you're not MAGA. Epstein files are a hoax. Then they come out and say, oh, there actually are files, but we can't release them. Then Donald Trump says we should just move on from Epstein. Then
if you forgot about Ghislaine Maxwell, they went to go see her, and all of a sudden she's in a better facility.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that.
She got transferred to a yes. She went
so then Thomas Massey, Lauren Boebert, and Marjorie Taylor Greene start pushing for a bill to release the Epstein files. Donald Trump and all the Republicans start saying they're going to primary these other Republicans, and this is ridiculous, and they're Democrats, and they're not really Trumpers, and they're panicking, and they're all this, and everyone that's claiming for this, and they start going around this. Then it comes out that, well, you know what? everybody's going to vote for this. They have a veto-proof majority with the Democrats alone to release the Epstein files. And so now the Republicans who were against it now jump on board because they're like, I don't want to be left holding the bag for this. And then it comes out that, okay, it passes. But now here comes Pam Bondi. And what does she say? Oh, we have active investigations against Epstein. You just said there were no files. You said that we couldn't release it. You said it was a hoax. You said all this other stuff. And so, like, what's happening with Epstein? And you know, you clearly see the media heads on TV. What are they doing now? They're smearing the victims, Epstein's victims. Now, I don't know enough to smear them or to not smear them, but I know enough that I would probably stay away from that. But the media is not. They're going after the victims. So essentially, they're protecting legacy, protecting Jeffrey Epstein and everybody that was on that island. Right. So what you're seeing is complete cowardice amongst all of our elected officials. And I don't know that they're all a bunch of pedophiles, but they're all covering for a bunch of pedophiles. And I personally think it's treasonous. And I personally think that if it comes to light, not only should they be removed, but they should be tried criminally and sent to jail, because it's absolutely disgusting what's happening. And I just, one more point, you know, I talk about it a lot, like in the Bible, in the Old Testament, where it says that cowards actually go to hell first, right? They actually go to hell first. Like, you're going to go before the murderer, before the rapist, before the pedophiles or the sexually immoral. And I fully agree with that, because I'm now watching this, and I'm watching people covering up for pedophiles. They're actually worse than the pedophiles, because the pedophilia wouldn't be hidden. The sex trafficking wouldn't be hidden. All of the crimes wouldn't be hidden if not for the cowardly that goes along, because even Donald Trump said, oh, good people are going to get hurt. Well, let them get hurt. And if you're one of them, you deserve to be hurt too. So absolutely disgusting. I don't know what you guys think about it, but it's disgusting, and it shows that you shouldn't trust a damn person in this government. And Kash Patel is no different than the prior FBI director. Fucking phony.
I see it. You want to go, Eric? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I just think this comes down to that. The reality is, I don't care if you're a Marine, you're a cop, a police enthusiast, just an average day taxpayer. Everyone wants the same thing. They want transparency from the government and want to know that it's on an equal level playing field. And the reality is, this case proves, with the Epstein case, it's not a level playing field. And anyone that's protecting potential pedophiles, I agree with you, John. You know, you and I spoke about that about 2 years ago. I said, I'm not really a religious person. I just told you I hate cowards. And you said, you know what? In the Bible, cowards are first to go. And I said, and I agree with that, because you are far worse. If you allow things to happen and you just stand by and you're complicit and you don't say a word, you're worse than the person actually taking action, because you have a duty to stand up, right? We're supposed to be the lions that protect the sheep, but rather you're just allowing the sheep to get slaughtered. So it's absolutely disgusting. John, I think you laid it out perfectly. I mean, you really went over this. We're talking about just going over a few things, but you laid it out perfectly. And the reality is, that's what people want. They want transparency. They want to be able to say they can trust their government. But Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and that idiot Dan Bongino, we can't trust them. Just a complete waste of time. There's no transparency. And being an elite, you could be a pedophile. That's what they're telling you.
Yeah, I saw a comment in there. By the way, guys, in the chat, if you ever type something and it's not popping up in the chat, or you see no interaction with it, like a question for us, it's not us, okay? I'm seeing it myself here that YouTube is actually filtering in it. So with that said, I saw a comment from HFL that said that not for nothing, in the scheme of things, who really gives a F about a bunch of perverted beta male sexual proclivities? And I'm gonna say HFL, it's much larger than even that, and as bad as horrible as that is in itself, that our government is promoting that, right? It's even worse than that, because one of the reasons why they don't want this revealed is because there's so much threads that come out of it. And if you follow those threads, you go back to other major events and the same people connected, and it's just a massive black eye for America, and it's going to cause so much anger that literally, the entire establishment would be coming down. And some of those threads go back to not only Wall Street, but they go back to politicians like the Bushes, the Romneys, the Cheneys, Kissinger, all of these guys, it's all connected. Okay. Maxwell, I see another comment about Maxwell here. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, a guy named Robert Maxwell, used to work for the intelligence agencies. He was like an information broker, and he helped fund Mitt Romney's Bain Capital. Okay. And you know who used to work in Bain and Company, the company that owned Bain Capital? Well, Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay. So, and you keep going, following the threads, you see how all of this is connected. And eventually you'll also go back to JFK's assassination. Okay. And there still hasn't been any that still hasn't been answered for yet, So there's a lot of threads here, and it's much larger than you think, because it's connected to the intelligence apparatus of our country and the Five Eyes or Six Eyes with Israel.
Well, that was very intelligent and very lucid, but I gotta laugh. The best comment. Sorry, before you go, Sal, but the best comment of the day comes from our man Chatter, West Bank Mo Hassan. Marlon, if you take off your hat right now, I'll donate $500 to the live.
Yeah. Come on, I've taken my hat off plenty times. Go back and watch some of the old episodes.
Yeah. Well, I say this. I think that a lot of people on that list, the reason that Trump and all these people, and by the way, Kash Patel, who wrote Government Gangsters, guess who loves that book and was screaming about it? Eric Adams, who was pictured next to him, and Kaz Daughtry. So what did I tell you? If you're seen around Eric or you're around Eric, you're no good. It's just, there's no way you're a good person. That's just bottom line. I could have been with Eric when I was a cop. He used to be right across the street from J Street, 350 J Street. His office over there. He's Brooklyn. I was told by cops, don't ever go near this guy. He's no good. And that's how it was. I only knew that he was outside. I don't know who the hell he was. That's when I learned who he was. So you don't want to be seen with him, because it's just, that's it. It's like your career, everything is going to be shrouded in mystery. Now, you might be one of these guys, but hey, that does something or gets money, but you're not going to be a good person. The bottom line with this is going to expose a lot of people, some that are Trump donors. That's why they're trying to hold it back. It's disgusting. Bongino, Patel, they made a career. They made millions of dollars grifting off this stuff, and now they can. And, what do they end up doing? Oh, we can't release it. Now, conveniently, there's an investigation going. There wasn't an investigation months ago. Now there is, because you got played again. Everybody got played again. But I would look into a lot of these Trump donors, because a lot of them are Israel first people. I hate to say that. I mean, it is that connection back with Epstein, and that's what's going to pop up. And they don't want that coming back to the light. Otherwise, people are going to pull those threads, and they're going to lead to where they lead. So that's the bottom line with Epstein.
So, and then we'll find out today, 3:00 today. We'll see what comes out of that meeting. He is Sid Rosenberg on the meeting. We got to listen to this one. This one's going to be good. Let's see.
You want my honest answer?
Yeah.
I hope Trump punches him across the face.
Now, if they were getting a fist fight, who do you think would win? Because obviously, Mamdani's 30 years younger than him, so like.
I saw Mamdani trying to lift 130 pounds. He needed 3 people to help him. I'm sorry. I'll take a 79-year-old President Trump to kick his ass every day of the week. You want my honest answer?
So there's that. But Zohran Mamdani doesn't look too nervous. This is him on his way to fly out, and he's flying. Look, he's not even flying first class, bro. He's flying business. He's one of you. He's one of you. He's a regular working class person. He's not in a billionaire apartment on West 23rd Street in his mom's apartment. No, he lives in that little rent-controlled apartment with yellow cabinets. And you believe it. Believe the hype. That hasn't been updated since 1970. That's really where he lives. He's just like you guys. He's a socialist like you guys.
You think that plane was empty when they took that picture?
At least he's not getting upgrades via Turkey, you know.
Yeah, and
Not
they're
yet.
making it a closed meeting. Oh yeah, because they got to plan out what's going to happen there. You know, it's a joke.
They're gonna no. This is where they would have the booker tell you, okay, who's the booker? Trump's the booker. What's gonna happen next? In wrestling, you have a booker. So he's the booker. He's gonna tell him, all right, we're gonna plan out what you're gonna do next. Let's call Kathy Hochul. I know I fight with her, but we're both New Yorkers. Because remember, John Katz keeps throwing this in you. He's a New Yorker. That's all he keeps saying. So he's letting you know it's staged, but you feel still falling for the whole act. It's Jim Walden is obsessed. Like Marlon said,
Not a New
WrestleMania.
Yorker.
Yeah,
Not a New Yorker.
WrestleMania is over, and Jim Walden is still going on. Like Survivor Series is next week. He's still talking about WrestleMania. Like, all right, guy, and we're planning the next WrestleMania. Like,
No, but he's happy about Tish though too. Now it's good. It's good.
oh yeah, she's great because she's great for Jim Walden.
Tish is there. Ina Vernikoff, the Miami resident, she's okay now. Everything's good. Bill
Everything's
Borelli's okay. Everything's good. Everything's good now.
They're all doing great now. All grifting and making money off your fears. Oh, Sharia law is coming in New York City. Yeah. It's flying right now on the way to DC, actually.
You think if Jessica Tish was a pauper and had no money, you think she'd be forever loved the way she's beloved right now? Like she didn't have a pot to piss in, they'd be bashing like this.
The next scam. Well, the next
money
scam
talks,
is
huh?
the next scam is the governor's race, because if you think that a Republican has a chance in that race, you're living in an alternate universe. Hochul's going to be the governor. New York State is Democrat. You have no chance. No matter. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear. I don't care. You say, give me a saint running as a Republican. They're going to lose. You've just proven this election in the mayor's race. I don't want to hear about polls, Polymarket, Democrats, and they're favored to win because they're going up, because Republicans are going down, and there will be an impeachment next year. And she's going to win. Probably even higher percentage than I think 8 years ago with Cuomo. She's really gonna put the feet. You could cry in New York all you want. I don't like Hochul. You're gonna vote for watch. Sharia law's coming. You'll do it again. It's just they already have it. They already have it planned out. New York is gonna be Democrat, so she's gonna be a governor. They're talking. What they're gonna probably talk about today is something in regards to that, because they got to book the events coming up. And then Jim Walden will be talking about WrestleMania from this year again, instead of worrying about next year. That's what you have.
He won't be talking on the Finest Unfiltered. They can tell you that.
Yeah, no, never again.
Yeah, well, he's busy thinking of ways to sue the terrorist adjacent cabal funding, organizing these hate-ins. This is in regards to that protest that was in front of that synagogue in the Upper East Side. By the way, there was both sides protesting against each other there. Okay, but I'm curious what Jim has planned, and I'm curious how he's going to how he's going to find a way to limit our speech. For the sake of stopping the spread of hate speech.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yeah. He'll be coming for us 100%. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway. Last thing, that kid Nick Fuentes, right? He's 26 years old. I mean, the kid has clips all over the internet. There's millions and millions of views on every single clip. If you share a Nick Fuentes clip, you're looking for clicks, share a Nick Fuentes clip. It'll go viral, and it's like he's obviously being put up as like this populist, like anti-Mamdani guy, and the things he's saying are insane. This clip, I honestly, he was telling people not to read the Bible. He just goes on a microphone, and honestly, I have no respect for the kid, because I don't even know him, and I don't listen to him much. But he's 26 years old. He's never done a damn thing other than sit behind that microphone. He has no life experience. And I called him a virgin in like a post online, like someone had put something out where he was telling people don't read the Bible, basically. And what I meant by the virgin is, I don't believe that he's ever felt the warmth of a woman, but that's besides the point. I believe that he's a virgin in life. Like, he has no experiences to really fall back on. He's untouched by the world. He just pushes all these narratives, and he's like this little low testosterone incel, doesn't like women, doesn't respect women. He's like the low testosterone version of Andrew Tate to appeal to like the younger crowd and really keep you into that Overton window. The same thing. And like, I can't stand when like a grown man with kids sends me a video of this kid. I'm like, why are you listening to what this kid says? Like, why are you listening to him? Like, who is he? Where did he come from? Why are you listening to a word that this kid says? But he puts this clip out the other day. Listen to this.
It's time to pound our fist on the table and say, it's our way or the highway. You've enjoyed the power and privileges for long enough. Where's ours? Where's our end of the bargain? So I love it. It's time to undermine the GOP. I said it in 2020. The GOP must be destroyed. Has to be utter. And yeah, they're going to say he's a Democrat. He wants the GOP to be destroyed. The GOP serves the interests. The GOP, as presently constructed, serves the interests, the special interests, the donors. Everybody knows that. It serves Silicon Valley and little tech. Palantir, Tesla, SpaceX, Anduril, Oracle. It serves Wall Street. That's why Ken Griffin gave them millions of dollars. It serves Miriam Adelson and the Israel lobby. This is who they work for. This is who selects the cabinet. This is who makes the policy. That's why they cut the corporate tax rate and they did nothing else. That's why they're shielding illegal immigrants from deportation as long as they're working on farms or on construction sites or in hospitality. That's why they're still providing for H-1B visas. That's why they're still providing for Chinese students. That's why they back down on the tariffs. That's why they back down on everything. So this is the blueprint. This is how we take over. And by the way,
so now to be fair, everything he said there is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I want you to listen.
Hey, and get a load of this. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie working together against the interests to compel the files. What do you think that has? A 90% approval rating? If you had progressive Democrats and nationalist Republicans working together, let's say to compel the release of the Epstein files, what kind of approval rating do you think that has? 90%? And what if they got together and they opposed foreign aid to Israel? What approval rating do you think that would have? 90%? What if they got together and worked on the basis of a common interest? Do you think that that Republicans or independents running under that brand, do you think that that would become more popular or less popular over time? 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. It snowballs. And we need to propel someone into the White House that is just a populist. And here's where we're going to have to give. This is going to be the compromise. Very simple. The left has to give up immigration. That's simple. The left is going to have to give up. Look, we can have equity and we can have equality in the country. We can have civil rights. We can have all those things. But we have to close the damn borders. We have to close it. Too many illegal immigrants. Too many legal immigrants. That has to be the compromise. The left has to give on immigration and the right has to give on the free market. If the right can come down on health care and on a social safety net and maybe on some subsidies for education, and if the left can come down on the anti-white open border stuff and they can agree that we have a country, that party will win 90% of the vote and rule for a century. That's the compromise. That's the populist compromise.
So what he's saying is, he's saying that you all need to move all the way to the progressive left. And the progressive left is going to give you this one little thing And you should be voting for candidates and working with candidates like Andrew Cuomo. So what he's doing is he's shifting the right all the way over to the left, like we were telling you what happened in the New York City mayoral election. That's exactly what he wants. He wants to move the entire Overton window over to the left. Now, a lot of what he says makes sense, but listen to his final solution, his final give up on the free market. He's not just talking about healthcare. Should Americans, hardworking Americans, have free healthcare in this country? Yeah, probably. Yeah, 100%. I'll agree with that. I think most conservatives and Republicans will agree with that. You know, unless they're like some real libertarian. No, I don't. You know, I'm keeping my own money and I'm going to fund my own healthcare. Okay, you do so. But I say we pay enough taxes in this country that we should be getting massages once a week for free. You know, but like he's saying, give up on the free market. And the left meets us a little bit, and we'll go to the left, who the real populist movement, you know, like Zohran Mamdani. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's what's called a limited hangout, guys. If you're watching that, it's called a limited hangout, and it's a tactic used it's a PR tactic, and it's an intelligence tactic, and it's used to manipulate perception and kind of do some damage control. But the way it works is they tell you half truth, only half of the truth, and they use it to divert the discussion elsewhere. And they use it a lot to hijack movements, like in this case, true populism, okay, and a true youth movement. And again, we talked about it before, how Mamdani essentially hijacked the youth movement, the anger that youth had, because he's presented as being a revolutionary candidate when he's not. He's the same establishment. And this is exactly what you have. You have a controlled opposition, limited hangout, meant to divert a true revolution from happening, and meant to bring things back to the establishment, but from a different angle.
Well, I can tell you what. First of all, this is the problem with this country anyway. Is all these young kids, young men watching this low testosterone idiot. Like, I mean, you know, no longer do we have like, you know, men's men anymore. I mean, watching this low testosterone kid that, you know, probably couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag, you know, kicking and screaming. But one thing he's right about, basically what he said is that left and right have to come to the middle, and they're all the same. That's what he's telling you. They're all the same. So you're right. Zohran Mamdani, he is the establishment. He captured the hearts of the young people, and the young were bamboozled because they're all the same. They're all part of this establishment wheel. They're all politicians. They're all in bed together, left, right. They're all the same. He's smiling on his way to Trump. He's been telling you the same guy he wants to fight with, the same guy that's his opposition. He's smiling on his way there because that's the truth. That smile he can't hide, because every time he talks, he's a complete actor, Zohran Mamdani. But this is an act today. He's smiling because he knows damn well he made it to the top. He made it. He rose because it's about him. It's self-image. And all those kids are watching this low testosterone idiot. That's what you get. We have all this low testosterone in this country. We can't even have a military. You think that kid's going to be in the military? That kid's going to represent this country? That's what we have. All this low testosterone fighting their way on social media and have no idea about real life, and their boots have never hit the ground.
Yeah, Nick Fuentes, broken clock is right twice a day. So that'll be applied to him. But obviously, he's being pushed everywhere. You go on whatever it is, X, you see all this guy's videos everywhere. And he's essentially pushing you to the progressive policies. They're going to accept one of these former Democrats that masquerade as an independent, but are, still part of the establishment. And you're going to vote for him. He would have said vote for Cuomo. He would have fell in line with that stuff. Now, again, he does say, I told you, he's going to be right about twice a day. But he's, again, he's going to spin that into, and he is like the Mamdani has all the DSA people, the younger people. He's got all these young American, like America First Republican people. So in essence, and it's funny because he started getting more prominent now that Charlie Kirk's on it. I mean, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. What happened to that? I don't know. Is anybody even talking about that?
No, none of his friends care. None of them care.
None of them care. I don't hear, Trump
one's grifting off of it, and the rest of them don't care. It's like,
So that like never happened. But what it did happen was with Charlie Kirk out of the way, the other people that were behind him now elevated themselves. He's one of them. So you see what happens? They all fill in the void. And that was done so that there was a void that other people would step into, you see? But people don't look into that. They don't look into his own people, TPUSA. But that whole thing that happened now gave birth to the renaissance of Nick Fuentes, who just before that was what? An alt-right, like, psychopath that, was thrown out of Mar-a-Lago. He didn't want to be in Mar-a-Lago. Remember, Trump met him. Now Trump is like almost embracing the guy. So, of course, because he's part of the agenda. We need him pushing these narratives because we need to work with progressives and put the progressives in charge. So that, everything's been co-opted at this point, and it's sad. You listen to Nick Fuentes at your own peril. That's the best way I could, if you're going to listen to him. I don't, but I do see his stuff all over the internet. Like, everyone's pushing it, but
it's everywhere. I don't follow the kid. His stuff doesn't even come up from him. It comes up from all these other people. When you see that, it should raise a red flag in your head. Like, this is being pushed in my face.
Mm-hmm. It's being pushed. I mean, Hunter just said Charlie Kirk was in the news for over 2 weeks because Jimmy Kimmel got canceled for a minute. That is true. Jimmy Kimmel got canceled and made a big deal. He got his job back, and Charlie Kirk just as quick. And again, Nick Fuentes was right because he said, we're going to talk about him for about 2 weeks and it's over. And he was right. Charlie Kirk is forgotten. Charlie Kirk never even happened. Do you ask people, they'd be like, huh? What? Who? What? What happened? See? They're right. Short attention spans.
This is the importance of not being in the low information bubble and understanding what they're trying to do to you and these perception management tactics that are being used against you. And also, I'm not going to go into it here, but Candace Owens and Tucker are also the same limited hangout. Okay, so you gotta not saying not to listen to them, but you gotta think for yourself and
spot on.
Stop with the idol worship.
That's the comment of the day, brother. You're absolutely right. Spot on, brother. You nailed it.
Take it with a grain of salt. That's what it is,
Yeah.
Take it with a grain of salt. I mean, I was laughing. Did you guys see the thing with Elijah Schaffer where Kash Patel's girlfriend's suing him? You guys know who Elijah Schaffer is? He's got he's like another like propped up social media influencer that like I don't even know why anyone pays attention to the kid, but he's getting sued now because he put out a photo of Kash Patel's girlfriend, and basically like she's suing him saying, well, you basically called me a honeypot. And he's like, I didn't say anything. I just put a photo of you out. So she's suing him for defamation. Now he's all over the internet talking about that. He's all over the internet, like bringing that up. Right. So here he is. And I find it funny because all the Israeli first influencers are pushing this clip of him. So here he is. He's with Gavin McInnes. Right? Listen to this conversation. This is insane because it doesn't just expose Elijah Schaffer. This is the internet. These are the people that you're following on X. These are the people that you're following on Instagram, on TikTok, and these are the people that are being shoved down your throat. Right? You know how everyone's like, oh, we can't find your podcast. Like, we don't know where it is, but like you guys got to come find it every day. You never really see it anywhere. Right? Why not? Why aren't we getting pushed anywhere? Right? Oh, I know why. But people like this are. And so listen to what he has to say here. You ready?
His bag showed up. Mine didn't. I called American Airlines. Like, I don't know where your bags are.
Why are you going to El Salvador?
Because I worked it. I'm friendly with the government down there. I work in, let's just say I liaison from the interests of America are in El Salvador, and I help represent some of those interests. And so basically I go down there. I've saved his bag showed up.
Listen
Mine
to that
didn't.
again.
I called American.
He flies down to El Salvador because he says his family's being threatened because Kash Patel's girlfriend's suing him. So Gavin McInnes asks, like, what are you doing in El Salvador?
His bag showed up. Mine didn't. I called American Airlines. Like, I don't know where your bags are.
Why are you going to El Salvador?
Because I worked, I'm friendly with the government down there. I work in, let's just say I liaison from the interests of America are in El Salvador, and I help represent some of those interests. And so basically I go down there, I have safe haven down there. I have a safe house.
So basically what he said is, I'm a foreign agent, an unregistered foreign agent. And I take money from the government of El Salvador because I work. I mean, I'm friendly with, the interests of America are in El Salvador. And, all these Israeli first influences are going nuts about it. And I'm like, wait, you guys are doing the same exact thing. You're all unregistered foreign agents taking money from a government because you're saying that the interests of America are in the government. And I think you're all a bunch of traitors. And I think that you all should be kicked out of this country, arrested, have your businesses taken because you're traitors. And that he didn't expose himself there. I'm not picking on Elijah Frazier or Elijah Schaefer, whatever the hell his name is here. I'm saying this is your favorite social media influencer. They're all taking money from foreign governments. They're all paid for, and they're all full of crap narrative pushes.
Yeah. And just so you know, El Salvador is very connected to Qatar. Okay. It's not a coincidence that all of a sudden El Salvador, after decades of gang warfare and crime, all of a sudden cleaned up their act and is now seems like a great place to be. But the point is that there are bigger people behind all of this, and it's a very, very large, very big club, and a lot of money is involved there.
Yeah, he's saying, first of all, him being sued is ridiculous because, like this idiot in here, the lieutenant was saying, defamation doesn't exist for public figures. She's going to end up having to pay the court fees, and the lawyers get sanctioned in the end. It's just a waste of time. You get this little one headline, oh, I'm suing this person, and it costs you more in the end because the New York Times vs. Sullivan, read that over and over again, everyone. Read it over and over again what defamation is, because that's the bar you'll never get past. It's and the one person who recently did, which was Johnny Depp, he had to pay himself because he defamed his own Amber Heard. So it's a total waste of time. The only time defamation counts is you're picking on literally someone who's not even public, like a random person that that's not in a public eye, and you go and say the guy did X, Y, and Z, some crazy thing, then that's defamation. Other than that, you're not going to prove that. So this, they're hunting like Kyle Seraphin too. They're suing Kyle Seraphin for defamation. It's like, you're a public figure. Isn't she a singer? I don't even know who his girlfriend is. I'm only catching up now. And I'm like, so who is this person that they're going after? Elijah Schaefer, another guy who, like you said, John, he's like, he's always being pushed. And you're like, but why? I don't know, what this guy's saying. So now he went to El Salvador because he knows
he's pushing the interests of El Salvador, Sal.
Yeah.
He just, because their interests are the American interests.
I don't even know how does that even conflate? What the hell is that?
And does he work for the United States government? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. One thing Marlon's right is the economic apparatus and the economic angle to this, right? Because America has a lot of companies in El Salvador where they produce, a lot of manufacturing. There's a lot of agriculture by American companies in El Salvador. So there's a huge economic apparatus for America in El Salvador. And yet he's not working for the American government. He's telling you that he's working for their government. So what are you doing exactly? Because there's a lot of American money. Well, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot of manufacturing companies, American companies in El Salvador.
So that's what he's working for now? So who is Ben Tel Aviv working for?
That's a good question.
Oh, I'm saying because these guys were coming out of woodwork against all of us. Now they disappeared, now that their boy Mamdani.
The election's over, they're gone.
Yeah, Mamdani's in there.
I haven't said a word about New York City politics since. And that's what I said to them on that space. I said, why I think you're all paid is because I've never seen any of you weigh in on New York City politics ever. And I feel like once this is over, I'll never see you guys again. And that's why I feel like you guys are all paid and somebody sent you here. And that's exactly what it was, because they didn't, like, literally they haven't said a word since I guess the money ran out, bro. The funds dried up.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to these super chats. We're at 3 hours, 30 minutes. So let's go. We got a shout out to Class at 8311. He says, your Friday pal is top talent. Missed first hour. Any good news from Wednesday mornings on returning to work? And Sal Greco needs to be reinstated. Sham firings.
Shout out.
we covered it already. The reinstatement process is a joke. I'm actually going to send my email today. I'm going to CC you, Police Commissioner Tish, just so you see it. All right. Again, I'm not covered in there, but I'd rather, I'll let them deny me. Let them.
John,
make that
are you jealous that Zohran is marrying Jessica Tish?
I am.
He's allowed to have 8 wives, Just
Sleepy Joe's says Friday roundtable rocket fueled stamina for the Mushroom Coffee Fund. Thank you, sir. Modern Samurai, thank you, sir. He says, hey guys, good morning. You don't think they will use that footage as leverage versus civilians, politicians, etc.? Think of the access we have to the public, building a blackmail network using the police force. That's a good question, Modern Samurai. I mean, the thing is, like, all of that information is confidential, and it could be misused once it leaves the hand of the New York City Police Department. It could be misused within the New York City Police Department, and we've seen stuff like that happen. But if it's not corruption from the top coming from the upper echelon of the NYPD, it won't leak out. So if it has to involve, the chief of department, deputy commissioners, then, you could see this similar type of blackmail chain being built. But yeah, I think things like that are much easier if you give access to the CCRB. That's why we shouldn't trust them. Well, like I said, the biggest leakers of information to the news are DA's offices and the CCRB. That's it. What do you guys think about that?
I wouldn't trust that soft hands Jonathan Dosh anywhere. Those CCRB investigators are so creepy. One time I had this investigation, I remember tapping the lawyer. I was like, is this guy really interviewing me? John, maybe you know him because you were the CCRB liaison. There was this guy, I think he had like red hair, but he was stuttering the whole time. He was asking me questions, and he was stuttering the entire time. I was like, is this guy really the guy asking me questions about police work? Is this for real? He couldn't get through a statement, couldn't get through a question. But I had to sit there, and this guy is going to tell me about, the kind of force. How far was I standing away? This guy couldn't even put 2 words together. That's the CCRB. Yeah, I wouldn't trust those guys with anything.
The DSA people. That's all it is. I told you.
Yeah.
DSA is a DSA agency. Yes, it is.
Yeah. What? No, I'm sorry, Eric.
No, the CCRB even went on and Gallagher, who's an attorney that would represent the lieutenants, that he knows exactly what I'm talking about. If you ever watch this, brother, I know you do. They asked me because I had to use force with a violent perpetrator if I was trying to render the perpetrator unconscious because he knows that we shoot to kill. Like, whoa, wait a minute. The NYPD. These are the CCRB investigators. He didn't say you shoot to stop the threat. He said that you trained to shoot to kill. Like, whoa. You don't know exactly what you're doing. These CCRB investigators are untrained. They have no idea what NYPD policy is. They have no idea what the law is. These kids are straight out of college. I don't know if they get paper bag degrees. Half of them should be wearing ball gags. I had plenty of people interview me with purple hair and black nails. And I'm sure their pronouns weren't he and him. But it was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I was gonna say, who needs a search warrant in the future when you voluntarily have, give up all your information, government, and government uses AI to, create multiple databases of information from various,
That's right.
agencies. So
it's all to keep you safe, guys. You guys are just doomers, Government. What would the government do nefarious? Do you think that if the government knew something bad was going on, like a certain island that was running a pedophile sex trafficking ring, that they would cover it up or be involved in it? I mean, come on, guys. This is ridiculous.
We'll just let's go to El Salvador. I hear they work with our government well.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go get some avocados.
7,000 a post, That's it.
If you want good avocados, I hear El Salvador is the spot to go to. So.
Yeah, no, it's good to further the interests of America, of course. And because we're friendly. I mean, I work. I mean, I'm friends with,
John, maybe that's what he's doing. He's helping out with avocados there.
Yeah. he looks like he helped out with a couple avocados for sure.
Elijah Schaefer, the avocado man.
Ooh. Is that an avocado?
He touches them and feels them, make sure they're appropriate. Yeah, this feels right.
Is that avocado? Or are you just happy to see me? GS Ventures says can't take any human seriously who says he him. I thought that was the best part of the whole thing, and I use he him pronouns. I mean, like, how do we talk like that? And then someone said on here, they were like, and I'm on stolen land. Like, that's how New York City wants you to talk. That's how they want you to talk.
Mm-hmm. Especially DSA people.
Completely control you, and I'm on stolen land. Like, what?
To the DSA, John is a far right activist, but to the actual right, John is now a Marxist because he wanted Curtis Lewer to be the mayor. Just so we all know.
I don't know who did it, but shout out to one of our friends and listeners said their pronouns are "fu." So
yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. GS Adventures says, God bless the NSA teams and CRT teams. Proactive policing will always be necessary. Unfortunately, CCRB is killing this aspect of policing. I think it's a lot more nefarious than just the CCRB. It's your police commissioner. It's your elected officials. There is just a push to destroy proactive policing. And even worse than get rid of proactive policing, get rid of people that should be involved in policing. Get rid of actual people who exhibit any form of masculinity, any form of intelligence. We want rule followers. We want people who are going to do exactly what they're told. It's a lot more nefarious than just getting rid of proactive policing.
John, I got a question. And I think you're aware of this too, because you went to some of the LBA meetings and I was an LBA delegate. Hey, Lou Turco, when you get a chance, brother, what happened to the analysis that the LBA was going to do to determine if white males in the police department were being targeted more than their counterparts from the CCRB? What happened to that analysis? I would like to know. I never got the results. John, did you get the results? I never heard anything.
No, because you know what happened after they got to like the first 100, and they were like, "Oh wow, there's clearly like a huge disdain and bias for white males." They're like, "Okay, let me just get my son in the detective bureau, and everything's good, and I'm just gonna destroy society." But hey, I live in Long Island anyway, so it's all good, you know. Like that's who cares? Who cares about the future generations? Who cares about it? It's all about me. I got this. I got that, and that's it. Do me a favor, anybody in the LBA, if you have the LBA bylaws, do us a favor if you could send them over to www.thefinestunfiltered.com. Just curious about something in those bylaws. So if you guys send us over those bylaws, we appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Andre Jackson, shout out to you. He says, good morning to the real legendary Four Horsemen, and good morning, Mr. Bratton. Thank you, Andre. Appreciate it. Hassan Mo is back.
The mad chatter.
Good morning, you mushroom, low stamina, angry Mo. Pack Marlon, you need to speak up there from cutting your airtime. Sally Stew, my man, Espresso King. Eric RV, Unlimited Miles Mo is with the robe olive oil on Sunday. In loving memory of Derek, always. Thank you, Hassan Mo, or West Bank Mo, as you like to be called.
Mad chatter.
Anthony DiMaggio, $5 says Juju vanishes like a stealth ninja, but only 5 because some people's stupidity is persistent.
That's true. The lieutenant.
John, Sleepy G says you need glasses. I just got mine, dude. I'm old. I got them.
Yeah, I'm getting old, people. Listen, it's hard doing this shit for 3.5 hours, pulling shit up. I'm in the background. Gets to you after a while.
I'm ready to
That's
go.
all I have. I see Ron Lacer says something too. Like I'm not out of anything. I'm staring at this screen. I got another screen here. I got your comments. I got there's a million things. I don't know. Do you expect me to be like, yeah, let's go? Come on. I'm like, we're doing a million things here. You know, take it easy, Ron. I mean, you do the same thing when you're on the show.
Nah, yeah, dude, it's nuts. And people were going nuts about my sweatsuit. Nobody liked it. You know, I had to zipper it up. People were going.
Actually, no, they liked it. You got
it showed a little cleavage, and it was like, you know, people.
I'm wearing my soccer jersey for the soccer mom.
Eddie Bauer, baby. You know,
I think I got a couple of compliments, John.
I spare you from having to see my Sergio Tachinis. You know, but like, you know,
I think we're gonna have to have a shirtless session one day. I think that's what shirtless roundtable.
Shirtless roundtable.
Wait, so Ron's talking shit on here? Hold on. Let's
he
get
did.
Ron.
He said something. He said it looks like a.
He's giving it to you.
I saw something. I go back. I saw him say something. It looks like I'm out of it or something. Sal, you look so checked out. That's what he said. How am I checked out? I'm doing 3 things at once. He does the same thing. He's on his show, and all of a sudden he just stops talking. What is he doing? Is he checked out? Is he looking at the comments? Look, I got 1,000 things coming up here. I'm looking at all these people here. I got X on this side. I got breaking news there. I got free spoke. I got all these things going on. Like I'm looking. I'm listening and I'm looking.
Oh, Ron got Sal fired up now.
Yeah. There he is.
The cowboy.
Up, man.
There he is. Ronnie Cash.
Ronnie Cash. Could you imagine Ron put together a song of lyrics? That would be the longest song ever.
So, yeah, hysterical. So there's Ron. That's why he was out this week. I didn't even think he was in the chat. I didn't see him. But yeah, it's tiring, you know. So, and even Danny's texting me. Look, here he goes. Stop whining, you losers. Now you all sound like Sid. Yeah, Dan. Have a great weekend, bro.
Listen, if they keep the coffee and donuts, we can keep going.
Yeah.
Remember what I said. He's gonna be real soon. I'm on. Remember, he's Trump's commie. Now he's my commie. Trump says, "Okay, I'm gonna have him on my show. I'm on my show. I'm the #1 rated. I gotta have the mayor. Hey, and when he's on, he goes, "Hey, my good friend Zohran, Zoe the man. Zoe's on WABC. He's on my show. I'm #1." You're gonna hear that very soon.
Sal, next time you do your show, make sure before you start talking about what's going on, I want to make sure that you give out your pronouns. Very important. This is Sal Greco. My pronouns are
Consa frito. That'd be a pronoun.
Yours is going to be Jimmy Rodriguez.
Jimmy Rodriguez. He's all over. Hey, look, don't worry. Don't worry. He'll be going to Sobro Garden soon. He already shook hands with the party chief the other day. Remember, he was shaking hands with Stevenson. So I'm sure there was something like, "Hey, don't worry. Well, you know, we're gonna have a therapy session back in the Bronx soon. Don't worry."
Samara Cohen says Zir and Zim. How many pronouns? I think there's like 20-something pronouns I heard. I gotta look it up.
Yeah, I'm sure Mamdani asked the rule to make sure the menu is halal at the next party. You know. Yeah.
KB New York City says Shell's pronouns are has been.
Shell.
I love it. That's outstanding.
That's funny. Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to. He's limping on the way in. Yeah.
That's it. No more coffee and donuts. Oh man, we're running low here. Oh, here we go.
Oh boy.
We got Pat Hendry though.
You got Pat Hendry.
All right. Let's get out of here. All right, everybody. Thanks. We had about 900 people with us this morning. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back on Monday as usual, and we'll keep rocking out. Let's see what the weekend's going to bring. I'm sure it won't be void of news. That's for sure. And I'm sure there won't be some scandals popping out of the NYC.
Oh, of course not. Soccer mom. No.
Listen, I want to say at this point, thank you to our friends and listeners. I want to thank you. We reached over 50,000 subscribers, and you're a big part of that. Huge part of that. The engagement that we get from our friends and listeners, it's really important. You helped us grow, and we're all growing together. So with that, appreciate it. We hit over 50,000, so not too bad for a small podcast. I appreciate it. We got one more coffee and donuts over here, John. There we go.
Another one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleepy Joe's, $2. Here you go, Lieutenant Tim. Outstanding. Thank you. I'll get that coffee and donuts, half and half, please. Appreciate it. I know.
Yeah, we got to head. We all have to head to the university. Lieutenant Juju there is headed. He's going to be teaching today. You want a thing is if you're teaching at university, obviously you need a PhD. So you could start looking that way. I mean, there's your one hint. You need
is
a
he
PhD
qualified?
to be.
Is he qualified?
Yeah, well, you got to be. You need a PhD. So it's not hard to figure this out. I mean, really.
How much overtime did he get from watching this podcast? I'd like to know. I want to see those overtime slips. Can we get a forensic audit?
Lily's got a question though. She said, "Is there a show next Friday?" I think we're going to be taking off.
Yeah, I think everyone's off Thursday.
Black Friday, Lily.
Yeah,
enjoy.
Thursday, Friday, we're going to be off. You know,
Lily, you need to be out there shopping, buying some TVs.
I never did Black Friday. I hate people.
Come on.
Yeah, you don't need to go in a store anymore. You can do it all online now.
Well, you never stood online trying to get a pair of Jordans or something? Come on.
Never. I hate people, bro. I'll pay more money.
Uh-huh.
Less people, I pay money. I don't care. If any convenience of me not having to be around people is good for me.
But now it's Cyber Monday, right? That's the big thing. Cyber Mondays, right?
Danny said shoplifting is legal now, according to Mamdani, right?
I should go to New York for Thanksgiving. Actually, I go to the Louis Vuitton.
Oh, by the way,
what about the Jets guy? Before we get off, real quick.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The dude, he goes to this bar and he gets shot outside the bar. Like these kids are out there making fun of him. They get into a brawl. Viral news is there.
They try to beat him up.
Viral news. They try to the NFL which try to beat up viral news. Then yesterday, who gets his ass kicked in front of there? Same bar.
Yeah,
same bar. Guy gets jumped. Who the hell was it? Oh, I can't think of who it is. But a famous comedian goes to that same bar restaurant, gets his ass kicked. Like, obviously, it's not safe to go there. Obviously, New York City isn't safe. It's a hot spot. All the celebrities are going out there, but you got all these little gang members hanging outside. They already shot an NFL player, and now they're jumping everybody that's around.
Now, but usually you'd say under the March program, they would have shut that down. But if they didn't shut down Jimmy's place, what makes you think they're going to shut down this place? And we don't know. Does the police commissioner have his cut out of this? Who knows?
Oh, and by the way,
they have a consulting company.
Yeah.
Well, while all this is going on, the Midtown North CEO is tweeting about them towing the halal cart. Okay. All right?
Serious?
Yeah. For health violations.
Hey, great job, Commander.
okay?
Great job. That seems really important. Wait till Zohran Mamdani finds out you're towing a halal cart. You're done.
You could have had both. You think you could get sick at a halal cart? Everybody was eating. They had rat excrements at Con Sofrito. You were all eating and dancing. So I mean, you could have had a. They don't care.
It was Ja Rule. Ja Rule. It was a rapper. Ja Rule from like back in the early 2000s.
That's right.
He got jumped outside of there last night. He got his ass kicked. They were trying to rob him, take his shit from him.
Wow.
And don't worry about it. The police department, they're going to be having, what is it? Hispanic Society going to have a dinner there soon. Don't worry.
Veronica Electron says she hopes it was Michael Rappaport.
Yeah.
One last thing before we go, guys. I need somebody in the first precinct to drop a missing report for RH here, okay?
RH is out.
He's not here today, okay? He might be.
But he has the other
that,
account.
That Mamdani is no longer socialist, you know. So
Where's
let's
clown,
get him some help before he does something to hurt himself, you know.
Where's that clown Eric S that's always on here? Where'd he go?
Ja Rule getting stabbed. Who's next at that nightclub? What's going to happen there this week? And there's going to be something that pops off.
Yeah, that's probably not a place you want to go to if you're famous.
Where's the nightlife mayor, Jeff Garcia? What happened to that guy? I thought he was supposed to be making sure this kind of stuff doesn't. See, Eric Adams checked out a long time ago, and his whole staff did too. Everything's on the take right now. Everything.
That's not
Amanda
a quality of
Estes
life
says-
offense. Sal,
Amanda
you know.
Estes says,
shooting is. Of course, the shooting only counts if it hits someone. If it's hitting the walls, it didn't happen. Oh, he just got stabbed. It's an assault. See, it's not a shooting. What are you talking about?
Sounds right.
It only counts if the halal guy isn't washing his hands.
Where they tow that car to?
Well, that's why I have my New York, whatever you want to call it, my New York biases, and I stay out of places. They're like, "Yo, everybody's going to the spot." I'm like, I ain't going.
Yeah, no.
You know, because yo, let's go to this club. Nah, I'm good. You know, because I've been there, done that, seen it too many times. I'm not trying to get shot going to a restaurant because NFL players show up. I could care less. I'd rather go to the restaurant down the block that's really good that nobody even knows about, and you know, I get a table right when I walk in. See you later.
John, I know how New York City will solve this one. They'll put a sign. Apparently, signs work. Signs prevent crime. They'll just put up a sign. You know, beware of this location if you're famous.
You
no
want
firearm zone.
We could go to this place. You could go to Phil and Chino and have the best salad you ever had. Or you could go to this place and they'll be shooting at you, which won't count unless you're killed. Yeah. You have to get shot, but then they'll say you got stabbed, not shot, because that's a different kind of category. And Soccer Mom's got to tell you, crime is down. But don't worry, the nightclub is safe. Everything's safe. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Let me take my wife out to a place where there's going to be a bunch of gang members outside that are armed, and they're gonna try to rob me when I walk outside, and I can't even defend myself because there's 10 of them, and I'm worried about my wife. That's a great idea. So the NFL players, they're like big dudes too. They're like 6'5", 6'6".
Oh, yeah.
They're like muscular guys. And the kids were making fun of the way they were dressed, the NFL players, because you know how they all dress like women today? They wear these weird outfits like Tommy Cutlets or Tommy DeVito. They dress weird, right? They don't dress like how people dress in New York or anything. It's like this weird, like, I don't know what to even call it. It's like this hippie 90s like remix look in there. And so the gang members outside are making fun of them. So the NFL players, like, who you making fun of? Because obviously they're a lot bigger than these little 5 foot tall kids that are packing 45s, right? And they approach the kids, and the kids shoot them. Like, wrong neighbor, brother. You know, like, no better. Sometimes you got to take it. You know what I mean? And
they didn't get the memo that crime's legal right now in New York City. They've been watching, saying, "Oh, crime is down." No, brother, that's the truth. You're out there right now in the streets of New York City.
Yeah.
Danny
calls it the non-binary clothing brand, and Amanda says it's crop top. That's what it is. You see these dudes like, exactly. Hunter nails it too. Des Rodman dressed like a fruit, but that's what they're dressing like. They're dressing like how Dennis Rodman dressed it. But now it's like mainstream, and where everybody's doing it.
But Dennis Rodman could pull it off. He's the only one that can pull it off. These other clowns can't do it.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. I mean, Dennis Rodman was dressing like that, and he was getting Carmen Electra. So he's the only guy that could pull that off.
Yeah, more than that. I think he was hanging out with Hulk Hogan and Bubba the Love Sponge back in the 90s. That was way at a different time when he was. But I don't know if was there nightclubs under Eric Adams and the Mayor Nightlife that were having shootings and stabbings and remaining open still. I don't know,
brother. You know how many times I was in a club in New York City and the cops came in, or a bar? Like, you know how often that happened? Like, the cops came in, DJs turned the music off, lights on. All right, everybody's got to go. Like, you know, that happened so much. Like, you know, but it was a good thing. Eric Adams got rid of the March program, and you know, here we are. And now he got rid of all the cops, so now here we are. So yeah, I highly recommend. I heard it's a great restaurant. I think all you guys should go. You won't be seeing me there, but good luck to you. You know,
and if you're a reporter, you get beat up by the NFL. On top of it,
make sure you stop at the local precinct and get an aided card before you enter.
Yeah. If you're in Staten Island, by the way, I highly recommend you stop at Joyce's Tavern. Joyce's, I think that's a great place if you want to see John Shell in his famous chair. That's really important.
You might need a toe tag going to this place, because that's what might happen. We'll just wrap it around you, the toe tag.
Yeah. Fill out your own 61 for robbery. Nobody's investigating it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. That's going to be next. That's going to be the next idea for the socialists and them. We got to fill out our own reports. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Make sure you put your pronouns on the report.
Yeah.
Sick. And so lesson for all you NFL players: when you're in New York City, especially if you're in Brooklyn or you're in Upper Harlem, don't sleep on the 5 foot tall kid with the fanny pack, because might not work out too well for you. You know.
At this point, you're better off in El Bronx with your favorite mob associate. You might as well, because at least there, you know, they have a stabbing, and then he'll go to jail and get a summons for it instead of you. And then everything's unknown. We don't know anything. There's no cameras. You head that route. I mean, there's no law and order. That's the bottom line here. You go to a club, go with a toe tag and 80 card. You're right.
You're giving all the secrets away.
Yeah.
And just if Eric Adams doesn't come back by Sunday, just so you guys know, Jumaane Williams is officially the mayor of New York City. Just so you guys know, if he doesn't come back by Sunday, the mayor of the city of New York is Jumaane Williams until Eric Adams returns.
New York City's like the headless horseman right now. It's like no one's running it. There's no mayor. Wait, there was no difference when Eric Adams was actually the mayor. No one was running it before. No one's running it now.
Well, you know what? You people right now, all the guys complaining, you would have had him as the mayor temporarily if you just would have done what should have been done, and Eric goes to jail. He would have been found guilty. So you all actually are deserving of what's coming right now, because you would have easily voted in Curtis in November with Jumaane Williams for a couple of months as the mayor. You would have seen what it's like to live under a real socialist. But no, you guys Who was it? The grifter. Oh, my brother, we can't put him. We're gonna have a socialist. We're gonna have Jumaane Williams. Yeah, that one, this one, that one, and now you all don't complain because now you got what you asked for. Plus, all the ones in Staten Island that voted for Andrew Cuomo. Now you got what you deserve.
Take care, brush your hair.
That's it. Eric Adams, the return of the stick-up kids in New York City. Congratulations, guys. You got it. Downfall of the New York City Police Department. All right, fellas, let's wrap this up. 3 hours, 53 minutes. I'm shot. I want to go eat something.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Any last words?
Let's
have a great weekend, guys.
Have a great weekend. I'll see you all on Tuesday.
We'll see you Monday morning. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you for reaching over 50,000 subscribers. Let's keep rocking. Let's get to 100. Thank you, everyone.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?